"You have 1 hour to get off my property," the station master said, and slid William Carter's letter across the counter like it was trash he was tired of looking at. Anna Whitmore read it standing up. 4 sentences. The man she had sold everything to reach had married someone else 3 weeks ago. Her savings $240. 7 years of her life, counted out $1 at a time, were gone. The last train east had left an hour ago. The station was closing. She didn't cry. She picked up her suitcase and walked outside into the dark. And that was when the cowboy found her. If this story moves you, please subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and comment the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's begin. You shouldn't be alone tonight. The station master slid the letter across the counter without looking at her. "He left this for you," he said. 3 days ago." Anna Whitmore took the envelope. Her name on the front, William Carter's handwriting. The seal already broken, someone had read it before her, which told her something about the kind of man William Carter was before she even opened the page. She read it standing at the counter. 4 sentences. He had married someone else. 3 weeks ago. A woman from a good family in Cheyenne. He wished Anna well and hoped she would understand that circumstances had changed. That was it. 4 sentences for 6 months of letters. 4 sentences for $240. 4 sentences for the teaching position she had resigned, the furniture she had sold piece by piece, the life in Ohio she had packed into one suitcase and left behind on a Tuesday morning, because a man had told her there was something better waiting. She folded the letter. She put it in her coat pocket. The station master was looking at her now with the specific expression of a man who has been holding someone else's bad news for 3 days and is relieved to have delivered it. "The last eastbound left an hour ago," he said. "Next one's Thursday." "I know," she said. "I close at 9, he said. 10 minutes. She picked up her suitcase. She walked outside. The cold hit her immediately. The specific cold of a Wyoming November that doesn't negotiate, that simply arrives and makes clear it intends to stay. She stood on the platform and listened to the sounds of the station master locking up behind her, the jangle of keys, the scrape of the bolt, and then silence. She was alone. She sat down on the bench outside the locked door. She put her suitcase between her feet. She pressed her hands flat on her knees, and she let herself feel it, all of it, the full arithmetic of what had just happened, because she was a practical woman, and she had learned that feelings ignored don't disappear, they just go underground and do their damage where you can't see them. So she let herself feel it. The betrayal, the humiliation, the specific grief of a woman who had allowed herself to hope and had been punished for it. 60 seconds. She counted. Then she stopped feeling it and started thinking. What did she have? She went through it. The suitcase, the coat, the wool dress she was wearing, the envelope in her pocket. And in her purse, she opened it and counted without taking the money out, the way you count things you don't want other people to see. $4.60. $4.60. $240 gone. 7 years of living carefully, of saying no to things she wanted, of putting away what others spent. Sent ahead in a bank draft at William Carter's suggestion. For simplicity, he'd written. To establish her account before she arrived. She understood now what that had meant. She closed her purse. The hotel in town would be at least $1 a night. The Thursday train east would cost considerably more than $4. And when she got back to Ohio, there was no job waiting. They'd already hired her replacement. There was no apartment, she'd given up the lease. There was no furniture. There was nothing. She sat with this for a moment. Then she did what she always did when a problem was real and large and had no obvious solution. She broke it into pieces. First piece tonight. She needed somewhere to be that wasn't an open platform in a Wyoming November. She was still working on the first piece when she heard the horse. She didn't look up right away. She had learned this was the specific knowledge of a woman who has traveled alone more than once to assess approaching sounds before she assessed approaching people. The pace of the hooves said walking, not urgent. The rhythm said a single horse, not a group. The direction said coming from town, heading north. She put her hand in her coat pocket. Her hat pin was there. The horse came into the edge of the light from the one working lantern on the station's exterior post, and stopped. She looked up. The man on the horse was looking at her the way you look at something you didn't expect to find, not with aggression, not with the particular sharpening that she had learned to watch for in men who saw a woman alone as an opportunity. With something closer to recognition, as though whatever he was seeing reminded him of something he already knew. He dismounted. He didn't rush it. He tied the horse, moved the way a man moves who has no need to perform anything for anyone. He walked toward her and stopped at a respectful distance. "Station's closed," he said. "I noticed," she said. "Train's not due till Thursday." "I know that too." A pause. He looked at the locked door, then back at her. "You have somewhere to go," he said. And there it was. The question. She could have lied. A woman alone at night has every reason to lie to a stranger. A confident lie, "My cousin is coming." "I'm expected I have arrangements," would end this conversation and let her deal with her situation on her own terms. But $4.60 made lying a thing she couldn't sustain past morning. "No," she said. He didn't react the way she expected. No surge of sympathy. No visible calculation. He just stood there for a moment looking at her with the steady, unhurried attention of a man who is deciding something carefully, because he understands that some decisions matter. "Lucas Reed," he said. "I have a ranch about 3 miles up the valley." "Anna Whitmore," she said. She did not stand. Standing felt like a concession she hadn't decided to make. "Miss Whitmore," he said. "You shouldn't be alone tonight." She looked at him directly. She was doing the calculation, the rapid unconscious accounting that women do in moments like this, reading every available signal. The way he stood. The distance he kept. The fact that he'd told her his name without being asked. The quality of his eyes in the lamplight, which were the particular gray-brown of river stones, steady and without urgency. She didn't find what she was watching for. "I don't want pity," she said. "Good," he said, "because I'm not offering it." "Then what are you offering?" He thought about this, as though it were a real question deserving a real answer. "A warm room," he said. "A locked door. A meal if it hasn't burned. And no questions tonight if you'd rather not answer them." She looked at him. "And in the morning," she said. "In the morning you can leave if you want to," he said. No argument. She stood up. She picked up her suitcase. "All right, Mr. Reed," she said. He took her suitcase without asking. She let him because it was heavy and she was tired, and because sometimes accepting practical help was simply the intelligent choice, and she had decided to stop confusing practicality with weakness. They walked. Not rode, he walked the horse, so she could walk beside him, and she noticed this, the adjustment made without comment, without wanting credit for it. 3 miles in the dark. Halfway there, she said, "What were you doing at the station?" "Hardware order," he said. "Hinges and fence staples. I moved the trip up from Tuesday for no particular reason." She thought about that. About the specific randomness of it. A man moving a supply run from Tuesday to Monday for no particular reason, and a woman standing outside a locked station with nowhere to go. "Lucky for me," she said. "Maybe," he said. They walked another few minutes in the comfortable silence of two people who were not uncomfortable with silence, which was itself a kind of information. Then he said, "There was a man." She looked at him sideways. "Carter," he said. She stopped walking. Her whole body stopped. Not dramatically. Not a theatrical flinch, but the sudden, absolute stillness of a woman who has just heard a name she didn't expect from a mouth she didn't expect it from. Her hand in her coat pocket closed around the letter. She turned to look at him. "You know him," she said. Her voice was level. It cost her something to keep it level. "I know of him," Lucas said, and the way he said it, careful, the specific care of a man who has chosen his words precisely because the imprecise ones would say too much, told her that "I know of him" was not a small thing. "How?" she said. "He owns land about 8 miles east of my ranch," Lucas said. "He married Margaret Hale in October. He paused. He is not well regarded in this valley. Anna Whitmore stood on a dark road in Wyoming territory and felt the full weight of the confirmation land on her. She had known it was true since she read the letter. But knowing something in your mind and having a stranger confirm it on a dark road were entirely different experiences. The confirmation had a physical quality, a specific pressure behind her sternum, and she had to hold herself very still for a moment under the weight of it. "Miss Whitmore," Lucas said. His voice was quiet, not urgent. "I'm all right," she said, automatically. "I didn't say you weren't," he said. She looked at him. "I said your name," he said, "because you went somewhere for a second. I wanted you to know I was still here." She looked at this man, this stranger, on a dark road, who had noticed the thing she hadn't said, and had responded to it with the most simple and precise thing possible. "I wanted you to know I was still here." "Thank you," she said. They walked the rest of the way. The ranch house was dark when they arrived, except for the residual warmth of a banked stove and the smell of something that had been cooking. Lucas lit 2 lamps, set them on the kitchen table. The kitchen was clean, not the performed cleanliness of a place cleaned for company, but the working cleanliness of a person who keeps things functional because disorder costs time. The floors were swept, the dishes stacked. The table had 1 chair pulled at an angle, the natural wear of a single person who always sits in the same place. 1 chair. She noticed it and said nothing. He showed her the room at the end of the hall. Small. A narrow bed, a window, a chest of drawers, a hook on the door. "Keys in the lock," he said. "From the inside. There's another key." He produced it from his coat pocket and set it on the chest. "That one's yours. You can lock it from both sides. The outside key stays with you." She looked at the 2 keys. She looked at him. He was already stepping back toward the door. "Stew'll be warm in about 10 minutes, he said. "Come when you're ready, or don't I'll leave a plate either way." He went back to the kitchen. She stood in the small room and listened to the sounds of him moving around, ladle against pot scrape of a spoon. The small specific sounds of a person making food in a house that had gotten used to only one person needing to eat. She sat on the edge of the bed. She pressed her hands together in her lap. She thought 2 hours ago, I had nothing, and now I have 2 keys and a lamp and something on the stove. She got up and went to the kitchen. He had pulled a second chair to the table. She sat down across from him. He served the stew without ceremony. She ate 2 full bowls because she was hungry and because eating felt like the beginning of a foothold, and right now foothold was the only currency that mattered. Halfway through dinner he said, "There's something I should tell you." She put down her spoon. He was looking at his bowl. Then he looked up. "Carter has done this before," he said. "What he did to you. There was a woman named Sarah Pratt about a year ago. She came here the same way letters of promised position money sent ahead. She stayed in Millhaven about a month and then left." He paused. "And before her another woman. I never learned her name." The kitchen was very quiet. "He's done this 3 times, Anna said. "That I know of," Lucas said. She absorbed this. She thought about 3 women, 3 suitcases, 3 bank drafts sent ahead at a man's suggestion, 3 mornings in a strange town with the particular arithmetic of nothing. "The money," she said. "The bank draft. I need to go to the bank tomorrow." "I know," he said. "I'll come with you." "Why?" she said. "Because Harlan Bates at the county bank tends to be dismissive of women making financial claims on their own," Lucas said. "And because Carter's done this before, which means Bates has seen it before, which means he already has a way of handling it that doesn't favor the woman." She looked at him steadily. "Have you seen him do that?" she said. "Handle it in a way that doesn't favor the woman." "With Sarah Pratt," he said. "Yes." "You were there." "No," he said. "She told me afterward, before she left." He paused. "I should have gone with her. I didn't know her well enough to offer, and she didn't ask. I've thought about that since." Anna looked at this man who was telling her about a mistake he'd made with a stranger a year ago, not to make himself look good, but because it was relevant and true. "All right," she said. "You can come." After dinner, she washed the bowls without being asked. He didn't make a thing of it. She filed this away with the other things she had noticed. At the door of her room, she stopped. "Mr. Reed," she said. He was banking the stove. He looked up. "Why did you stop?" she said. "At the station. Most men would have kept going." He straightened. He thought about it the way she had come to understand he thought about things without rushing, treating the question with the seriousness it deserved. "When I was 24, he said, "I sat outside a closed door for 2 hours in the winter because I had nowhere to go and too much pride to ask for help. An old rancher named Pete Garfield opened the door eventually." He looked at the stove. "He's been dead 6 years. I never thanked him enough. I try to remember that it matters when someone opens a door." He picked up his lamp. "Good night, Miss Whitmore." "Good night, Mr. Reed," she said. She locked the door from the inside. Both locks. Not because she was afraid, because he had given her the choice and she chose to use it, and the choosing itself felt like something returning to her. She lay on the narrow bed and looked at the ceiling. She thought about the bank tomorrow. She thought about $4.60. She thought about a woman named Sarah Pratt, who had come before her and left without what she was owed. She was not going to leave without what she was owed. She closed her eyes. She slept. Morning came early and cold. She was dressed and in the kitchen before the light was fully up. Lucas was already at the stove. He turned when he heard her poured a cup without asking, held it out. She took it in both hands. She stood at the window and looked at the ranch in the gray morning light. What she saw was a well-built operation, sound structures, good fencing on the visible sections, a barn that had been properly maintained. But there was something else. A quality she recognized from 7 years of reading school budgets. The quality of something running at less than its capacity. Not failing. Just held back. As though someone had decided a certain size was enough and had stopped there. "How many cattle?" she said. He looked at her over his cup. 43 head. "What can the land carry?" A pause. 80, maybe more if the east pasture was developed. "Why 43?" she said. He was quiet long enough that she almost let it go. "Because that's how many I can manage alone," he said. She turned from the window and looked at him. And that was the moment, just that sentence, said flatly, without self-pity, as a statement of operational fact, when she understood that the emptiness she'd felt in the ranch when she walked in the night before was not about neglect. It was about a man who had stopped planning for more than one person. She didn't ask why yet. She stored it. "Show me the account books tonight," she said, "after the bank." Something moved in his face. A recalibration. "You want to see my account books?" he said. "I was a teacher for 7 years," she said. "I ran a school budget on $40 a quarter. I can read an operations financial position in about 20 minutes and tell you exactly where the problems are." She looked at him directly. "You're running a ranch that's worth twice what you're getting from it. I'd like to know why." He held her gaze for a long moment. "After the bank," he said. The bank was on Millhaven's main street, and Harlan Bates was exactly what Lucas had said. Broad-faced 60, with the practiced warmth of a man who has spent decades managing other people's money and has confused that management with authority over the people themselves. He looked at Anna the way she expected. She didn't give him time to set the terms. "My name is Anna Whitmore," she said before he could speak. "I sent a bank draft for $240 to this branch drawn on First National of Columbus, Ohio, directed to William Carter with written instructions to hold it in a joint account pending my arrival. I arrived last night. I'm here to review the account." Bates blinked. He looked at Lucas. Lucas looked back at him, with nothing, not hostility, not warmth, just presence. The specific presence of a man who has nothing to prove and is simply paying attention. Bates looked back at Anna. "Miss Whitmore," he said, "the situation regarding Mr. Carter's accounts is somewhat complex." "The situation is simple," Anna said. "A bank draft arrived, written instructions accompanied it. I'd like to see how those instructions were followed. Bates went to the back office. He was gone 5 minutes. Lucas stepped up beside her. He said nothing. She appreciated the nothing. Bates came back with a ledger. She read it. The draft had arrived. It had been received logged deposited into a single-name account. William Carter's name. No joint account. Her letter of instruction had been received and filed, and 23 days later, 2 days after Carter's wedding, the full amount had been withdrawn. Signed out by Carter. Every cent. Gone. The letter of instruction, Anna said. You received it. We did, Bates said, and you did not follow it. Mr. Carter represented himself as... The letter specified a joint account, she said. My name, my instructions. This bank received a legal directive and did not execute it. She looked at him steadily. I need a written record. The draft receipt, the instruction letter, the deposit, and the withdrawal. Dated and signed by you. On the bank's letterhead. Today. Bates's face went through several colors. He looked at Lucas. Lucas looked back at him. Today, Anna said. Bates went to the back office. He was gone 7 minutes. He came back with 3 documents. Stamped, signed, dated. She took them, folded them, placed them in her coat pocket alongside William Carter's letter. Thank you, Mr. Bates, she said. I'll be consulting a lawyer about next steps. You'll be hearing from him. She walked out. Lucas held the door. On the street she stopped. She stood very still for a moment. Not falling apart, doing the arithmetic. $240, documented. Gone, but documented. You know a lawyer, she said. It wasn't a question. Arthur Caldwell, Lucas said. 2 streets over. He's handled 3 cases in this county that no one thought could be won. Take me, she said. Caldwell read her 3 documents in 4 minutes. Then he looked up over his spectacles with the expression of a man who has just been handed something cleaner than he expected. Bates signed these himself, he said. He chose honest over stupid, Anna said. I gave him the choice. Caldwell looked at her for a moment. Then he said, You have a case. Against the bank, she said. Against the bank first, Carter second. He set the documents down. Bank liability for non-execution of written instruction is established in territorial law. Carter's individual liability runs alongside it. He looked at her. This is going to take time. Weeks, possibly months. Are you situated during that period? She was quiet. She's at my ranch, Lucas said. For as long as it takes. Anna looked at him. He was looking at Caldwell, saying it the way he said most things, flat factual without performance. She turned back to Caldwell. I'll need to earn my keep, she said. I don't take without giving. The ranch has work, Lucas said. That, she said, is a separate conversation. Yes, he said. We'll have it on the way home. They had it on the way home. I'm not a charity case, she said. I know that, he said. I mean it, she said. I won't stay somewhere I'm not earning my place. I know that too, he said. I've been watching you since last night. You don't do anything you're not earning. She was quiet. The account books, he said. I said after the bank. It's after the bank. Show me everything, she said. Not just what looks good. I wasn't going to hide anything, he said. She looked at him. Most people do, she said. I'm not most people, he said. She almost smiled. I'm starting to understand that, she said. He showed her the account books that evening at the kitchen table. 3 of them, worn at the corners. The first covered 4 years of operation. She read for 40 minutes without speaking, and he sat across from her and let her read, which was something she hadn't expected. Most men in her experience got uncomfortable when women read their numbers in silence. She saw the problem in 20 minutes, but she read the full 40 because she wanted to be certain. The ranch wasn't failing, but it was running at exactly the level one person could manage, which meant it was generating enough to survive and not enough to grow, and the gap between those 2 things was costing him quietly every single year. Then she opened the second book, the older one, and everything changed. The entries in the older book were different, faster, more confident. Bigger numbers, broader plans, the record of a man who was building something and expected to keep building. She turned pages, and the momentum of it was almost physical, the sense of a life moving forward at speed. And then, halfway through the book, the entries stopped. Not tapered off, stopped. A gap of 8 weeks, and then they started again, smaller, slower, the new hand of a man who had continued, because stopping wasn't an option, but who had stopped believing in what he was continuing toward. She looked at the date of the gap. February 1883. She looked up. Lucas was watching her. He had been watching her read, and he knew exactly which page she was on, and he hadn't redirected her, which meant he had decided to let her see it. February 1883, she said quietly. He held her gaze. Her name was Clara, he said. The flatness of it was not coldness. It was the specific flatness of a word said so many times in the privacy of one's own head that it has worn smooth in the saying. She was my partner here, in every sense. He paused. Fever, 11 days. And then she was gone. Anna was still. I'm sorry, she said. He nodded once. She looked at the books. She understood now. The 43 cattle. The east pasture undeveloped. The one chair pulled at an angle. The ranch that was worth twice what it was producing. Not because he didn't know how. Because he had stopped planning for more than one person. Because planning for more than one person meant depending on someone staying, and depending on someone staying meant risking losing them again and losing. Clara had cost him everything he'd thought he could survive losing. He had made himself small, not from weakness, from the particular kind of strength that expresses itself as endurance rather than expansion. She looked at the second account book. She looked at the date of the gap. She thought about the east pasture, the undeveloped land, the 43 cattle that should be 80. She thought 4 years. He has been holding himself at survival for 4 years. She was about to say something when she turned the next page and stopped. There was an entry she hadn't expected. April 1883. 2 months after the gap. A line item for a surveyor paid with a note in Lucas's handwriting, boundary check, Eastern Section reference, Carter offer. She looked up. Carter made you an offer, she said, for the east pasture. Something shifted in Lucas's face. April 1883, he said. 2 months after Clara died. He came to the ranch with an offer to buy the eastern section. Said he was expanding his operation. And you said no, she said. Yes. And then, she said. He looked at her steadily. And then in June, he said, the water stopped running to the east pasture. The kitchen went completely silent. Anna Whitmore sat at the kitchen table with the account books spread between them and felt the full shape of something she had not yet been able to see from any single angle suddenly become visible all at once. He blocked your water, she said. The creek that feeds the east pasture runs through a diversion point on his land, Lucas said. When I went to him, he said it was natural, seasonal variation, said he'd look into it. The muscle in his jaw. He said that 4 times over 2 years. While the east pasture stayed dry, she said. While the east pasture stayed dry, he said. And I couldn't afford to stock it without the water. And without the stock, the ranch stayed at exactly the size one person could manage alone. He paused. And he kept coming back with lower offers for the land. Anna looked at the account books. She thought about William Carter's letter in her pocket. She thought about $240. She thought about Sarah Pratt, who had come before her, and the woman before Sarah Pratt, whose name nobody knew. And she thought about something else. Something that had been sitting at the edge of everything and had just come into focus. He needed capital, she said. Lucas looked at her. He was running a scheme against you, blocking your water, pressuring your land. But that costs time, not money. He needed money for something else. She looked at the books. He started the fraud schemes at the same time he started pressuring your east pasture. Women arriving with bank drafts, cash he could take immediately. She looked up. He was funding something. What? Lucas said. She held his gaze. I don't know yet, she said. But it's connected. Everything he's done to you, to me, to Sarah Pratt, to whoever came before her, it's connected. She put her hand flat on the account book. And the connection is that east pasture. Lucas was very still. She watched him process it, the specific quality of a man taking in something that reframes 4 years of experience. Caldwell, he said. Tomorrow, she said. We take all of this to Caldwell. The bank documents, your account books, the water diversion, the timeline. All of it together. He's going to say we need proof of intent, Lucas said. The timeline is the proof, she said. April 1883. Carter makes an offer. You say no. June 1883. The water stops. He waited 2 months after Clara died to approach you. He knew you were at your lowest point. She looked at him. That's not coincidence. That's a plan. Lucas sat with that. She watched something move through his face, something that had been building for 4 years and was now finding for the first time a shape it could push against, rather than just a weight it could endure. He picked his moment, Lucas said quietly. Yes, she said. He knew about Clara. He knew about Clara, she said. He waited, and when you were most depleted, he came with his offer. Lucas's jaw was tight. And when I said no, he said, he went to your water, she said. The kitchen held all of that. Then Anna said something she hadn't planned to say. It came out of the silence and the lamplight and the account books and the specific understanding she had developed over the last 24 hours of exactly who this man across the table was. He thought you'd break eventually, she said. He thought a man alone with no water and no help and no one to plan for would eventually take the offer just to stop surviving and start living again. She looked at him directly. He didn't account for the fact that you were willing to survive forever rather than sell to him. Lucas looked at her. I didn't think of it as strength, he said. I thought of it as stubbornness. Sometimes, she said, they're the same thing. He looked at the account books between them. Anna, he said. She looked up. The east pasture, he said. If the water was restored, 80 head, she said. Maybe more, in the first full season. The legal case, he said. If Caldwell can get the injunction. He can, she said. We have the timeline, the bank documents, and whatever the surveyor finds when he measures that diversion point. She paused. Carter built this carefully. But careful people leave records. And records are just stories waiting for someone to read them in the right order. Lucas Reed sat across from her in his kitchen with the account books between them and the lamp burning, and outside the Wyoming night doing what it always did, vast and cold, and entirely indifferent to what happened inside small houses. And he looked at this woman who had arrived 24 hours ago, with nothing, and was now sitting at his table reading 4 years of his life and seeing it more clearly than he had been able to see it himself. Why? He said. Why what? She said. Why are you doing this? He said. You have a legal case. Caldwell can file it without any of this. You could get your money back and leave, and never think about Carter's East Pasture scheme again. He held her gaze. Why do you want to pull on this thread? She thought about it honestly. Because I read your account books, she said. And I saw a man who stopped believing his life was worth building at full size. And I saw why. And I saw that the reason, the actual operational reason, was standing on 8 miles of land to the east of here, blocking a creek, and waiting for you to give up. She paused. I don't like that. I find I'm not willing to leave knowing that's still happening. He looked at her for a long time. And the other reason, he said. She raised an eyebrow. There are 2 reasons, he said. The first one is principle. What's the second? She held his gaze. I need somewhere to be while the legal case runs, she said. And I have looked at this ranch for 24 hours, and I can see exactly what it could be. And that is a very rare and very interesting thing to see. She paused. And I would like to be here when it becomes what it could be. Lucas was still. "That could take a while," he said. "I'm aware," she said. "You said you need to earn your place," he said. "I do," she said. "Then earn it," he said. "Starting tomorrow. Show me what you'd do with the East Pasture budget, on paper, before we go to Caldwell." She looked at the account books. "I'll need tonight," she said. "You have tonight," he said. He stood up. He moved toward the hall. "Lucas," she said. He stopped. She looked at him across the kitchen. This man with the river stone eyes, who had stopped on a dark road and said, "I wanted you to know I was still here," and had handed her 2 keys and told her the choice was hers. "The woman who came before Sarah Pratt," she said. "The one whose name you never learned." "Yes," he said. "I'm going to find her," she said. "If she's findable. Her story belongs in this case too." He looked at her. "You've been here one day," he said. "I know," she said. Something moved in his face. Something passed the careful surface. Something that had been contracted for 4 years and was very slowly beginning to find room to breathe. "All right," he said. He went to his room. She turned back to the account books and the blank paper she'd set out and the lamp that was burning steady and clear. She picked up the pencil. She began to write. Outside somewhere on 8 miles of Carter's land, a creek ran through a diversion point that had no business existing. It wouldn't run that way much longer. Anna Whitmore was going to make sure of that. And they went to face the day. And what that day revealed would change everything Anna Whitmore thought she understood about loss, about survival, and about the kind of man who opens a door without asking what he'll get in return. The bank was on the main street of Millhaven, which was the nearest town to Lucas's ranch, and which had the particular quality of a place that was deciding whether to become something or stay small. New buildings going up on one end, abandoned storefronts on the other, the whole thing balanced on the uncertain edge of the railroad expansion everyone was talking about, but nobody could confirm. Lucas tied the horse outside and held the door. Anna went in first. The bank smelled like wood oil and cold air and the specific mustiness of paper money handled by many hands. There were 2 teller windows, one occupied by a young man who looked up with the bright professional attention of someone who has been trained to assess customers by their clothing in the first 3 seconds. His eyes went from Anna to Lucas and back to Anna, and his expression shifted in a way that told her everything she needed to know about how this conversation was going to go if she let it. She didn't let it. She walked to the window and said before he could speak, "My name is Anna Whitmore. I sent a bank draft for $240 in advance of my arrival directed to this branch. I need to speak with the manager about the status of that draft." The young man blinked. "The manager is available," said a voice from the back office. A door opened. Harlan Bates was exactly what Lucas had described, a man of 60 or so, broad-faced, with the expression of someone who has spent decades in a position of minor authority and has mistaken that authority for significance. He looked at Anna the way men like him look at women who present problems with a smile that was also somehow a door closing. "Miss," he began. "Whitmore," she said. "Anna Whitmore, and you are Mr. Bates." "I am." He came to the counter. "Now what seems to be the trouble?" She noticed the word seems, the professional minimization of it, the way it framed whatever she was about to say as a misunderstanding before she'd said it. "No trouble," she said pleasantly. "I sent a bank draft for $240 drawn on First National of Columbus, Ohio, directed to this branch in care of William Carter, with a letter of instruction specifying that it was to be held in a joint account pending my arrival. I arrived last evening. I'd like to review the account." Harlan Bates looked at her. He looked at Lucas, who was standing 2 steps behind her and slightly to the right, and who was looking at Harlan Bates with the particular expression of a man who has nothing to prove and is simply present and paying attention. There was nothing threatening in it. It was somehow more effective than threatening. Bates looked back at Anna. "Miss Whitmore," he said, "I'm afraid the situation regarding Mr. Carter's accounts is somewhat complex." "Complex," she said. Yes. You see, Mr. Carter recently married someone else, Anna said. I'm aware. That's not relevant to the draft. The draft was sent with specific instructions regarding its disposition. Those instructions were in writing, which means this bank received a legal document directing the handling of my funds. I'd like to see how those instructions were followed. A silence. She watched something move behind Harlan Bates's eyes, the recalculation of a man who had expected a different kind of conversation and was rapidly adjusting. One moment, he said. He went to the back office. Lucas stepped up beside her. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. His presence beside her was the statement. Bates came back with a ledger. He set it on the counter and opened it with the careful movements of a man trying to decide in real time how much to reveal. He turned it to face her. She read it. She read it twice. The draft had arrived. It had been received, logged, and deposited into a single-name account under William Carter. No joint account had been established. The letter of instruction had been received and filed. And 3 weeks later, 2 days after Carter's wedding to Margaret Hale, a withdrawal had been made. Full amount. $240. Signed out by William Carter himself. Gone. The letter of instruction, Anna said carefully. You received it. We did, Bates said, and you did not follow it. A pause. Mr. Carter represented himself as the managing party of the account. The letter specified a joint account, she said. Pending my arrival, my name, my instructions. This bank received a legal directive and did not follow it. Miss Whitmore, Mr. Bates. She kept her voice absolutely level. This bank has legal liability for the non-execution of a written financial instruction. I'm not a lawyer, but I was a teacher for 7 years and I taught enough civics to understand the basic principles involved. She looked at him steadily. I would like a written record of this transaction, the draft receipt, the instruction letter, the deposit, and the withdrawal dated and signed by you on the bank's letterhead today. Harlan Bates's face had gone through several colors. He looked at Lucas. Lucas looked back at him without expression. Today? Anna said again. Quiet. Certain. Bates excused himself. He was gone for 7 minutes, she counted, and when he came back, he had 3 documents each stamped and signed and dated that constituted a complete paper record of exactly what had happened to her, $240. She took them, folded them, placed them in her coat pocket. Thank you, Mr. Bates, she said. I'll be consulting with a lawyer about next steps. You'll likely hear from him shortly. She turned and walked out. Lucas held the door. On the street outside, she stopped walking and stood very still for a moment. Not because she was falling apart, because she needed 30 seconds to process the full arithmetic of what she had just confirmed. Gone. All of it. Gone. Lucas stopped beside her. Didn't touch her. Didn't speak. She appreciated both things. $240, she said. Not to him exactly, to the air. Yes, he said. 7 years, she said. I know. She breathed in, out. Looked at the documents in her pocket through the fabric of her coat, feeling their edges with her fingers. I have the paper trail, she said. You do, he said. That's something. It's more than something, he said. It's the case. She looked at him. You said lawyer, he said. To Bates. Do you have one? No, she said. But he doesn't know that. Lucas was quiet for exactly 2 seconds. Then he said, I know someone, Arthur Caldwell. He's in Millhaven 2 streets over. He's handled 3 cases in this county that nobody thought could be won. Introduce me, she said. He introduced her. Arthur Caldwell was 45 compact, with the focused energy of a man who chose his battles carefully and won the ones he chose. He looked at Anna's 3 documents for 4 minutes while she and Lucas sat across his desk. Then he looked up. Bates signed these himself, he said. Yes, Anna said. That was either very honest or very stupid of him, Caldwell said. I gave him a choice between the 2, Anna said. He chose honest. Caldwell looked at her for a moment. You have a case, he said. Bank liability for non-execution of written instruction is established in territorial law. Carter's individual liability is secondary, but also viable. He set the documents down. I can file by Friday. What are the odds? She said. Against the bank, better than even if Bates keeps that signature on the document. He paused. Against Carter, that depends on whether he's still in the territory and whether he has assets that aren't already transferred. He has land, Lucas said, 8 miles east. Caldwell nodded slowly. Then there's something to attach a judgment to. He looked at Anna. Miss Whitmore, this is going to take time. Weeks, possibly months. Are you situated during that period? She was quiet for a moment. She's at my ranch, Lucas said. For as long as it takes. Anna looked at him. He was looking at Caldwell, saying it the way he said everything as a fact, not a performance. She turned back to Caldwell. I'll need to find work, she said. I can't simply... The ranch has work, Lucas said, still to Caldwell. Mr. Reed, she said. He looked at her now. You said this morning that you wanted to be useful, he said. I said after the bank. It's after the bank. She held his gaze. That's a separate conversation, she said. Yes, he said. We'll have it on the way home. They had it on the way home. I'm not a charity case, she said. She was direct about it. They were 10 minutes from the ranch, and the afternoon had turned cold, and she was tired in the specific way of a person who has been containing large feelings in professional settings all morning and is now running low on containment. I know that, he said. I mean it, she said. I won't stay somewhere I'm not earning my place. I know that too, he said. I've been watching you all morning. You don't do anything you're not earning. She was quiet. The ranch has real work, he said. Not invented work, not tasks I'm creating to give you something to do. Actual operational problems that I've been managing poorly because I've been managing alone. He kept his eyes on the road ahead. You asked me this morning why I was running at half capacity. You already knew the answer before I said it. You stopped making plans for 2 people, she said. Yes, he said. And the ranch has paid for that. The accounts are worse than they look from outside because I know what they should look like and they don't. She turned to look at him fully. Show me, she said. Tonight. The full books. He looked at her sideways. You sure you want that tonight? He said. It's been a hard day already. Numbers don't get better by waiting, she said. He almost smiled. She caught the edge of it. No, he said. They don't. After dinner, she cooked this time without asking a simple meal from what she found in the larder, and he ate it without comment, but ate all of it, which she took as the best kind of approval. He brought out the account books. 3 of them. Leather-bound, worn at the corners in the way of things that have been used and then put away and used again reluctantly. She moved the lamp to the center of the table. She opened the first book. Lucas sat across from her. Not watching her, exactly not hovering, but present in the way he was always present, which was completely and without surplus. She read for 40 minutes without speaking. The first book covered the last 4 years of the ranch's operations. The numbers were not catastrophic. Lucas Reed was not a man who spent carelessly or borrowed beyond his means, but the pattern was clear, and she saw it within 20 minutes. The ranch was profitable enough to survive, never profitable enough to grow. He was running at a maintenance level, enough coming in to keep what was there, not enough forward investment to become more than what it was. You haven't bought new stock in 2 years, she said. No, he said. The north fence line, the repair entries here. She pointed to a column. You've been repairing the same section 3 times a year for 4 years. The posts are rotten, he said. Have been since... He stopped. Since 4 years ago, she said. He was quiet. Replacing the posts would cost more in 1 year than the repeated repairs have cost in 4, she said. But replacing them once ends the problem. Yes, he said. But you didn't replace them, she said. She said it carefully, not as a judgment, as an observation that had a question underneath it. He looked at the table. The repair kept things going, he said. It was enough to get through the season. You've been getting through the season, she said. Year after year, getting through. He looked up. Yes, he said. And in that single word, she heard the full weight of what he meant the 4 years of it. The deliberate narrowing the life constructed to be survivable rather than livable. She looked at the second book. This one was older the years before the 4 years alone, and here the numbers were entirely different. Bigger investments, more cattle, plans that spanned multiple seasons. The handwriting was the same, but the pace of the entries was different, faster, more confident, the record of a man who was building something and knew it. She turned the page and stopped. Midway through the book, the entries changed. Abruptly. The dense forward-moving record simply stopped, and then started again 2 months later in a slower and more careful hand. Smaller amounts. Reduced cattle numbers. The north fence repair entered for the first time. She looked at the date of the gap. February 1883. She looked up. Lucas was watching her. He had been watching her read, and he had known she realized exactly which page she would land on and what she would see, and he had chosen to let her see it, rather than redirect her. February 1883, she said quietly. He held her gaze. Her name was Clara, he said. The flatness of it was the opposite of coldness. It was the specific flatness of a thing said so many times, thought so many times, that the words had worn smooth. She was my partner here, in every sense. He paused. Fever. It moved fast. Anna was still. I'm sorry, she said. He nodded once. She looked back at the books, not to avoid the moment, but because she understood from the books and the man and the 4 years of maintenance-level living that what he needed was not her sympathy, which he'd had plenty of, and which had not helped, but something more practical and more radical than sympathy. Lucas, she said. He looked at her. The east pasture, she said. You said it could be developed. What would it take? He blinked. The shift was abrupt enough that she saw him recalibrate. New fencing, he said. Water access. There's a creek that runs through the east edge, but it needs a channel cut to reach the interior. And stock. You'd need 20-25 additional head to make it worth the labor. Cost, she said. He named a number. She looked at the third book, which was the current year, and she did the arithmetic in her head, with the quick precision she had learned over 7 years of balancing school budgets and calculating supply needs. If Caldwell wins the case against the bank, she said, and recovers even half of what Carter took. That's not certain, he said. Nothing is certain, she said. But it's the available capital, and the east pasture development would increase the ranch's annual income by... She looked at the numbers again. Conservatively 40%, in the first full year. Lucas was very still. You did that in your head, he said. I taught mathematics, she said. Anna. His voice was different, quieter. What are you suggesting? She looked at him directly. I'm suggesting that you've been getting through the season for 4 years, she said, and that the ranch is worth considerably more than you've been letting it be. And I'm suggesting that if the legal case goes the right way, there's a path to something better than survival here. She paused. I'm also suggesting that I'd like to be part of building it, not as a passenger, as someone with applicable skills and a direct interest in the outcome. The outcome, he said, of the legal case, and of the ranch, she said. A long silence. You've been here 1 day, he said. I know, she said. You don't know this operation. I know what the books say, she said. And I know what they're not saying, which is as important. He leaned back in his chair and looked at her with those steady gray-brown eyes. The Riverstone look. The look of a man who is measuring something carefully because he has been wrong before about what things can bear. Why, he said. Why what? She said. Why do you want to be part of it? He said. You have a legal case. You could get your money back and go back east and start again. Why would you? He stopped. Why here? She considered the question seriously. Because going back east means starting from nothing in a place where I'm the woman who was fooled, she said. Because I have skills that are genuinely useful here. Because I have looked at these books for 40 minutes and I can see exactly what this operation is and what it could be, and that is a thing that is very rare and very interesting to me. She held his gaze. And because you opened a door. And I'm the kind of person who takes that seriously. He was quiet for a long time. There's something I should tell you, he said. She waited. William Carter, he said. His land that borders mine to the east. The development I'm talking about, the channel for the creek, the fencing, it all runs along that boundary. She looked at him. Carter has been blocking the creek channel for 2 years, he said. There's a natural diversion point on his property that he dammed off. The water should run through to my east pasture, but it doesn't. And without the water, the pasture can't support stock. Anna sat very still. He blocked your water access, she said. 4 years ago, Lucas said. After Clara died. He came to me with an offer to buy the east section. I said no. 2 months later, the water stopped running. The kitchen was very quiet. He wanted your land, she said. He wanted the east pasture specifically, Lucas said. The railroad surveyors had been through that spring. There's a routing that runs close to the eastern valley. Land adjacent to a rail line is worth 5 times what it is now. She looked at him. And then he ran the scheme on me, she said slowly. Brought me here under false pretenses, took my money, married someone else. She paused. Did he know you'd help me? Did he know you'd take me in? He couldn't have known, Lucas said. I don't do that usually. Take people in. But you did, she said. Yes, he said. She thought about this. About the specific coincidence of it. William Carter blocking Lucas's water and stealing her money, not knowing that the woman he'd stolen from would end up at Lucas Reed's kitchen table with a lamp and an account book. He has my money, she said. And he has your water. Yes, Lucas said. And he wants your land, she said. Yes? She looked at the account book spread across the table between them. Well, she said. Well, he said. She looked at him. Arthur Caldwell is going to be very busy, she said, and Lucas Reed, who had not laughed in 4 years, not genuinely, not the real kind, made a sound that was the beginning of one. Not all the way there yet. But the beginning. He is, Lucas agreed. She gathered the books and stacked them neatly and set the lamp back to the side of the table. Tomorrow, she said, I want to see the east pasture, and I want to see exactly where Carter's dam is on the creek. Lucas looked at her. It's not going to be a comfortable thing to look at, he said, knowing what he did. No, she said, but I'd rather see the problem clearly than not see it at all. She stood up and pushed her chair in. And I've found that most problems, once you can see them clearly, turn out to be less impossible than they looked in the dark. She said goodnight and went to her room. She locked the door from the inside as she had the night before. But this time, lying in the dark, she was not doing the arithmetic of survival. She was doing a different arithmetic entirely, the arithmetic of what was possible, what was actionable, what could be built from the materials available. She thought about Clara, whose entries in the account book had been dense and confident, and then simply stopped. She thought about what it meant to be the woman who came after, not to replace, not to erase, but to continue something that had been interrupted. To look at a half-built thing and decide it was worth finishing. She thought about 43 head of cattle that should be 80. About a creek that had been dammed by a man who thought he could starve out a ranch by removing its water. About a legal paper trail that a bank manager had signed with his own name. She thought about how William Carter had taken everything from her and accidentally dropped her precisely where she needed to be. She thought he was ending something. He was starting something. Outside, the Wyoming night was doing what Wyoming nights do, vast and cold, and full of the sounds of a world that was considerably larger than any one person's loss. She listened to it, and she planned lying in the dark in the small room at the end of Lucas Reed's hallway, planning with the focused precision of a woman who has discovered that her loss and his loss share the same source, and that the source has a name, and that the name is William Carter, and that William Carter has made the specific mistake of underestimating two people who had nothing left to lose. She was at the east pasture before Lucas the next morning. She had been up at 5, dressed and outside before the sky was fully light, walking the fence line with the methodical patience of a person who needs to understand the geography of a problem before she can solve it. She found the creek bed easily enough. The channel was clear, the path the water should have taken obvious from the way the land lay and the vegetation that grew along the dry banks, the particular desperate leanness of plants that remember water and are waiting for it to return. She followed the dry channel east. She found the dam at 20 minutes past the property boundary marker. It was not a dramatic structure. That was the first thing she noticed. It was not the work of great effort or engineering, just a deliberate accumulation of rock and packed earth at the natural diversion point, built up over time, perhaps added to seasonally maintained just enough to keep doing its damage. The kind of thing a man builds when he wants to cause harm slowly, quietly, in a way that looks like natural geology to anyone who doesn't know what they're looking for. She stood and looked at it. She thought about Lucas's account books. The moment the entries changed. February 1883. Clara's death. And then 2 months later, the water stopped. Carter had waited until Lucas was at his lowest point. Had come with the land offer while Lucas was still in the immediate aftermath of loss. And when Lucas had said no, Carter had gone to the creek and started building. She felt the anger move through her cleanly and completely. Not the hot, reactive kind that clouds judgment. The cold, clear kind that sharpens it. She pulled out the small notebook she carried, a teacher's habit, always paper and pencil within reach, and she began to sketch the dam. Its dimensions, its construction, its relationship to the property boundary marker. She noted the exact distance from the marker to the structure. She noted the direction of the natural water flow. She wrote down everything she could observe and measure without tools, because she understood that what she was looking at was not just a pile of rocks, but a piece of evidence in a case that had just become considerably larger than a bank draft. She was still writing when she heard Lucas behind her. She didn't turn around immediately. She finished the notation she was working on. Then she said, "He built it himself. Look at the construction. It's done in stages, different rock types at different heights. He's been adding to it. This didn't go up in a day." Lucas came to stand beside her. He was quiet for a moment. "I know," he said. "I saw him once early on, before I understood what he was doing. I thought he was clearing land on his side." She looked at him. "You watched him build it?" "I watched him work on his own land," Lucas said. And the distinction in his voice was the specific pain of a man who has spent years knowing he was wronged and being unable to articulate even to himself exactly when the wrong began. "I didn't understand it until the water stopped. And when the water stopped, I went to him," Lucas said. "He told me the diversion was natural, seasonal variation, said he'd look into it." He paused. He said it 4 times over 2 years. Always polite, always reasonable, always looking into it. Anna looked back at the dam. "He was counting on you staying polite back," she said. "Yes," Lucas said. "And you did." A pause. "I didn't have..." He stopped, started again. "After Clara, I didn't have the energy for a fight. I was just trying to get through the season," she said. "Yes." She put her notebook in her pocket. "He picked his moment very carefully," she said. "The land offer while you were grieving, the dam when you were depleted, the patience to wait years for the pressure to work." She turned to face Lucas fully. "He's not stupid. I want you to understand that. He's calculated." Lucas looked at her. "I know," he said. "That's what makes him dangerous." "No," she said. "That's what makes him documented." She pulled the notebook back out and held it up. Calculated men leave records. They make plans. They have correspondences and agreements and transactions, and every one of those is a piece of paper with his name on it. She looked at the dam. "This is also a piece of paper with his name on it. We just need someone to read it correctly." She walked back toward the ranch. Lucas fell into step beside her. "Arthur Caldwell," she said. "I was thinking the same thing," Lucas said. "This isn't just a fraud case anymore," she said. The bank draft, the creek diversion, the land pressure, it's a pattern. One man, multiple victims, systematic approach. She was moving faster now, the way she moved when she was thinking ahead of herself. Caldwell needs to see all of it together, the full picture. He's going to say we need proof of intent, Lucas said. We have it, she said. The timeline proves it. Carter came to you with the land offer in April of 1883. I saw the entry in your accounts, a line item for a surveyor you hired after he came, which means you took the offer seriously enough to check your boundaries. He came the month after Clara died. Then the water stopped in June, 2 months after you said no. She glanced at him. That's not natural variation. That's cause and effect. Lucas was quiet. You read my accounts very carefully, he said. That's what you showed them to me for, she said. Yes, he said. It is. They were back at the ranch house before 8 o'clock, and she was already writing by the time the coffee was ready, a full account of the dam, the measurements, the timeline she'd reconstructed from the account books, the connection between Carter's land offer and the subsequent water diversion. 3 pages in the clear, careful hand she'd developed teaching children to read, because she had learned that clear handwriting made people take documents more seriously. She finished, read it back, made 2 corrections. Lucas set coffee beside her without interrupting. She looked up. Thank you, she said. Is it enough? He said. What you've written. For Caldwell to file an injunction for restoration of water rights possibly. She picked up the cup. For the fraud case against the bank, the 3 documents Bates signed are already strong. For a full case connecting Carter's pattern. She paused. We need more. What kind of more? He said. Other people, she said. You said yourself he's done this before. The 2 women before me, do you know their names, where they went? Lucas frowned. He thought for a moment. One of them I know went to Denver, a woman named Sarah Pratt. She was here for about a month working at the hotel in Mill Haven, and then she left. I don't know more than that. And the other, I never learned her name, he said. I only heard there had been someone. A year before Sarah Pratt. Anna put down her cup. I need to find Sarah Pratt, she said. Lucas looked at her. Caldwell might know, he said slowly. He mentioned knowing about Carter's previous. He stopped. He said 3 cases no one thought could be one. Anna. What if... She was already on her feet. We need to go back to Caldwell today, she said. They were in Caldwell's office by 10 o'clock. Caldwell looked at Anna's 3 pages. He read them with the focused quiet of a man who is adding new information to an existing structure and watching the structure change shape. He set the papers down. You measured the dam yourself, he said. As accurately as I could without instruments, she said. A surveyor could get precise numbers. I know a surveyor, Caldwell said. He was looking at the papers. A good one, honest. He looked up. Miss Whitmore, when I said I'd handled 3 cases, no one thought could be one. Were any of them Carter? She said. Caldwell was quiet. One was, he said. A water rights dispute 4 years ago. A rancher on the western ridge named Davis. Carter had diverted a tributary on Davis's land. Davis couldn't prove intent, and Carter's lawyer argued natural variation. Davis lost. The kitchen went very quiet. Davis lost, Anna said carefully, even though Carter did the same thing he did to Lucas. The evidence wasn't strong enough, Caldwell said. Davis didn't have the timeline. He didn't have the connection to the land offer. He looked at Lucas. You have both. And I have the bank draft case, Anna said, which is connected to Carter's pattern, which connects to Davis's case, which connects to the women before me. She leaned forward. Mr. Caldwell, if we can find Sarah Pratt. I know where Sarah Pratt is, Caldwell said. Both Anna and Lucas went still. She's in Denver, he said. She hired me last year. Same story, letter, promise, arrival, nothing. Carter took $300 from her. He paused. I couldn't file because she'd already left the territory and the bank here wouldn't produce the records. He looked at Anna. She'd come back. If there was a case worth coming back for. Anna looked at Lucas. Lucas looked at her. Build the case first, she said to Caldwell. Make it solid, then bring her back. And Davis, Lucas said. Davis might be willing to refile, Caldwell said slowly. If the new evidence changes the standing of his previous case. He picked up his pen. This is going to take time, and it's going to make Carter aware that something is happening. He's going to push back. Let him push, Anna said. Caldwell looked at her over his pen. Miss Whitmore. He said, I want to be clear about something. William Carter is a man with local connections, some money, and the willingness to use both. When he understands that you're building a case against him, he is not going to be polite about it. I didn't expect him to be, she said. He'll go after your credibility, Caldwell said. He'll say you came here under false pretenses, that you were pursuing him, that the money you claim was stolen was voluntarily sent, and the arrangement was a private matter between adults. He can say all of that, Anna said. And I have a signed document from Harlan Bates proving the bank received and ignored written instructions and a 3-page account of a dam on a creek that has no business being there, and a teacher's career in Ohio that anyone can verify, and... She paused. And Lucas Reed, who has been in this valley for 8 years, and whose word means something. She looked at Lucas as she said it. He looked back at her. Yes, he said, quietly, definitely. My word means something. Caldwell looked between them. All right, he said. I'll contact Davis and write to Sarah Pratt by end of week. The surveyor goes to the creek next Monday. He made notes rapidly. And someone needs to get a record of Carter's current financial situation, what he owns, what's borrowed against it. If he has liens against his land, a judgment could force a sale. I can get the county assessor's records, Lucas said. They're public. Do it this week, Caldwell said, before he understands what's coming. They left Caldwell's office and stood on the street outside. Lucas looked at her. You just built a legal case in 48 hours, he said. I organized the information that already existed, she said. The case was already there. It just needed someone to look at all of it at once instead of each piece separately. He was quiet for a moment. Carter thought you'd leave, he said. When he sent that letter, he thought you'd take the loss and go. I know, she said. He doesn't know you, Lucas said. She looked at him. There was something in the way he said it. Not admiration exactly, or not only admiration. Something more specific. The particular recognition of a person who sees another person clearly, and is saying so. No, she said, he doesn't. The backlash came on a Thursday. She had been at the ranch for 9 days. She had in those 9 days reorganized the account books and created a forward-looking budget that Lucas had looked at for a long time in silence, before saying it was the first time in 4 years he'd seen numbers that moved in the right direction. Identified 3 specific repairs, including the rotten fence posts on the north line that would cost more to continue avoiding than to fix. Started a conversation with the Halverson family 2 miles west about a possible shared grazing arrangement on the south field that would bring in additional income for both operations. And written 4 letters, 1 to the Columbus School Board, verifying her employment history. 1 to the First National Bank of Columbus, requesting copies of the original draft documentation. 1 to a former colleague in Ohio who had dealings with the Territorial Land Office, and 1 to Sarah Pratt in Denver, written with the plain directness of one woman to another saying, I am in Millhaven. I have the documents. I have a lawyer. Come back if you want justice. I will not be leaving. The backlash arrived in the form of a man named Gerald Marsh, who appeared at the ranch gate on Thursday afternoon and asked to speak with Lucas Reed. Anna was in the yard when he arrived. She assessed him in 3 seconds, hired not local, the specific manner of a man who delivers messages for money and wants to be done with this particular one quickly. Mr. Reed is in the barn, she said. I'll get him. Who may I say is calling? Gerald Marsh, the man said. I represent Mr. William Carter. She looked at him. Wait here, she said. She went to the barn. Carter sent someone, she said. A man named Gerald Marsh. He says he represents Carter. Lucas set down the harness he was working on. What does he want? Lucas said. He hasn't said yet, she said. But I suspect he wants to deliver a message that Carter doesn't want on paper. Lucas looked at her. Come with me, he said. He'll expect that to bother him, she said. That I'm there. Good, Lucas said. They went together to the gate. Marsh looked at them both and made the specific adjustment of a man recalibrating his approach. Mr. Reed, he said. Mr. Carter asked me to convey that he's aware of certain inquiries being made regarding his land and his business affairs. He paused. He wanted you to know neighborly that these inquiries could create complications for both parties. Both parties, Lucas said. Mr. Carter has connections in the territory, Marsh said. Political connections. Men who sit on the water board, the land assessment board. He was looking at Lucas, not at Anna. A deliberate choice. He wanted you to know that there are ways these things can go that would make the current situation look comfortable. He's threatening you, Anna said, to Lucas, directly, as though Marsh were not present. Marsh turned to her. Miss Whitmore, he said, and the fact that he knew her name, the specific knowledge of it, was its own message. Mr. Carter also wanted to convey that a woman in your position pursuing claims in a territory where she has no established standing should consider carefully who she's choosing to involve herself with. Tell Mr. Carter, Anna said, that I've sent a letter to Sarah Pratt. Marsh went very still. She watched him process the name, watched him decide whether to show recognition, watched him decide incorrectly that a neutral expression would conceal the fact that he recognized it. I don't know who, he began. Tell him anyway, she said. He'll know. Marsh looked at Lucas. Lucas looked back at him with the Riverstone eyes. I think you've delivered your message, Lucas said. You can go. Marsh went. They stood at the gate and watched him ride away. Then Lucas said very quietly, he knows about Pratt. Yes, Anna said. Which means Carter knows Pratt was talking to someone, Lucas said. Or he has someone watching Caldwell's office. Anna thought about this. Or both, she said. She turned back toward the house. We need to move faster, she said. He's going to try something before Caldwell gets the case fully assembled. I don't know what, but we need to be ready for it. What do? Lucas said. We don't wait for him to move first, she said. We get Davis's statement this week. We get the surveyor out to the creek before Monday. And we get Sarah Pratt on a train before Carter finds a reason to discourage her. She was already moving. Anna, Lucas said. She stopped. He came to stand in front of her. He was looking at her with the careful, measuring look, but underneath it, now something different than before. Something that had been building and was becoming harder to contain. I need to say something, he said. She waited. When Carter's man said a woman in your position, Lucas said, he meant it as a threat, as a diminishment. He paused. I want you to know that the position you're in from where I'm standing is the strongest I've seen anyone occupy in a long time. She looked at him. That is, he said carefully, a separate observation from the business matters. I'm not conflating them. I just wanted to say it. She held his gaze. Thank you, she said. And then, that's also a separate observation from the business matters. The corner of his mouth moved. Yes, he said. It is. The week moved fast and hard. Davis came to Caldwell's office on Friday and spent 2 hours reviewing the evidence, and at the end of those 2 hours said in the specific voice of a man who has been sitting on contained fury for 4 years, "Where do I sign?" Sarah Pratt wrote back on Saturday a letter of 4 sentences that said, yes, she was coming. She would be on the Tuesday train, and she was bringing the letters Carter had sent her, which she had kept, because she had the instinct of a woman who somehow knew, even at the worst moment, that she would need them someday. The surveyor went to the creek on Sunday. He spent 3 hours at the dam and came back with a detailed technical drawing and a written assessment that used the phrase deliberately constructed obstruction twice and inconsistent with natural geological formation once, and was, as Arthur Caldwell said when he read it Monday morning, exactly the kind of document that made a judge pay attention. That same Monday, Lucas went to the county assessor's office and returned with a piece of information that changed the entire picture. He came into the kitchen where Anna was working at the table, and he set a document in front of her and said, "Read the 3rd paragraph." She read it. William Carter's land. The land adjacent to Lucas's east pasture. The land with the dam. The land that the railroad survey had made valuable was mortgaged, heavily, borrowed against for almost exactly its current assessed value, which meant Carter was not a wealthy man sitting on valuable property. He was a man who had borrowed against anticipated value that he had not yet realized. He needed the railroad confirmation to make the land worth what he owed on it. He needed to consolidate his position, more land, more leverage, before the railroad decision came down. He was not operating from a position of strength. He was desperate. He's been scrambling, Anna said. The scheme with the women, Lucas said. The fraud, the land pressure. He needed capital, and he didn't have it, and he's been pulling it from wherever he could reach. And now the railroad might not come through on the eastern route at all, Anna said. She had heard this in town, a piece of conversation between merchants, the uncertainty of the routing. If the railroad takes the northern valley instead, his land is worth a fraction of what he borrowed against it, Lucas said. She looked at the document, then at him. He's not threatening us because he's powerful, she said. He's threatening us because he's afraid. Lucas sat down across from her. A desperate man, he said carefully, is not a less dangerous man. No, she said, but he's a more predictable one. She folded her hands on the table. He needs to stop this case before it becomes public record. Because once it's public record, his creditors are going to look at him very differently. What does he do? Lucas said. When he's desperate and predictable. She thought about Gerald Marsh at the gate, the name, Sarah Pratt, landing on his face. He tries to make us afraid enough to stop, she said. And when that doesn't work, she stopped, because she had just thought of something that had been sitting at the edge of her thinking all week, a shape she hadn't been able to see clearly until this moment. Lucas, she said. The railroad surveyor. The one who came through 4 years ago. Carter would have known him. Would have known the route assessment. Probably, Lucas said. It was common knowledge who the surveyors were. And the route that would make Carter's land valuable, she said. The eastern routing. Did it require anything from your land? Lucas went very still. What do you mean? He said slowly. A right-of-way, she said. A corridor for the rail line. If the eastern routing went through the valley, would it need to cross your property to reach his? Lucas stood up. He went to the shelf where he kept a rolled map of the valley. Land parcels, she had seen it there, when she was going through the books, had noted it without understanding its relevance. He spread it on the table. He put his finger on his east pasture. He traced the valley floor east. He moved his finger along the probable rail corridor. His finger stopped at the boundary between his land and Carter's. He looked up. The only viable flat corridor for a rail line in this valley, he said, runs through my east pasture before it reaches Carter's land. They looked at each other. He doesn't just want your east pasture, Anna said. He needs it, Lucas said. Without the right-of-way through my land, the eastern road is too expensive to build. The grade is too steep on his property alone. He was processing as he spoke. Without the corridor through mine, the railroad doesn't take the eastern route at all. And without the eastern route, his land is worthless, Anna said, or near enough. She stood up. She looked at the map. She thought about everything at once. The dam, the land offers, the fraud, the mortgage, the threatened railroad route, and she saw the whole shape of it clearly for the first time, and it was not the shape of a powerful man consolidating advantage. It was the shape of a frightened man trying to hold together a plan that was already coming apart. He needed 3 things, she said. Your land, your cooperation or your departure, and the railroad to commit to the eastern route. She looked at Lucas. He's lost 2 of them already. The land, Lucas said, and my cooperation. And if we take the legal case public, she said, the mortgage holders look at his position and they start asking questions. And if the railroad hears there's a contested right-of-way dispute on the key corridor, they reconsider the eastern route, Lucas said. Yes, he's finished, Lucas said. He doesn't know that yet, she said. But he's starting to feel it. That's why he sent Marsh. She looked at the map for another moment. Then she said, we need to tell Caldwell about the right-of-way. Today, Lucas said. Today, she agreed. She picked up her coat. He picked up his. At the door he stopped. She stopped beside him. He was looking at her with the full direct look, not the Riverstone measuring look, but something past it, something that had broken through whatever careful layer he kept over the things he actually felt. Anna, he said. I know, she said quietly. He looked at her. I haven't said anything, he said. I know, she said again, but I hear it anyway. He was still for a moment. That's disconcerting, he said. You get used to it, she said. And she walked out to get the horses. Behind her, Lucas Reed stood in the doorway of his own house for 3 full seconds before he followed her. And he was smiling genuinely fully, the way a man smiles when he has been caught off guard by something good, after years of expecting only the predictable weight of more of the same. And he followed Anna Whitmore out to the horses, and neither of them said anything about it, because some things are more real when they're left in the open air instead of being examined too closely too soon. Caldwell was in his office when they arrived. He looked up from his desk and read the quality of their entrance, the pace of it, the specific focus they were carrying, and he set down his pen without being asked. "Tell me," he said. Anna told him about the right-of-way. She laid it out in the same order she had assembled it in her mind. The railroad survey, the eastern route, the corridor through Lucas's east pasture, Carter's mortgage, the timeline connecting all of it. 7 minutes. No wasted words. The account of a woman who had learned in 7 years of teaching that clarity was the highest form of respect for another person's time. Caldwell listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "The right-of-way changes the mode of argument entirely." "Yes," Anna said. "Before Carter looked like an opportunist," Caldwell said. "A man who took advantage of grief and women traveling alone. Which is damning, but also defends able to a point. A good lawyer could make it look like miscommunication, bad judgment, individual failures." He looked at the map Lucas had brought, now spread across his desk. "But if the motive is a coordinated land scheme built around a specific railroad corridor, if every action Carter has taken for 4 years connects to this one goal that's not opportunism, that's conspiracy." Lucas leaned forward. "Can you prove it?" "I can build toward it," Caldwell said. "The dam as a pressure tactic to force a sale. The fraudulent schemes as a capital-raising method. The mortgage as evidence of his financial position and therefore his need." He was already writing. "And the right-of-way as the thread that runs through all of it." He looked up. "If I can get the railroad survey documents, the ones that show the eastern route corridor." "How do we get those?" Lucas said. "The Territorial Land Office keeps copies of all survey filings," Caldwell said. "They're public record. But Carter has a contact there, I suspect the same contact who's been watching my office." Anna and Lucas exchanged a look. "Your contact in the land office," Anna said to Lucas. "The former colleague you mentioned." "I haven't mentioned a former colleague in the land office," Lucas said carefully. "No," she said. "I did in a letter. To a colleague in Ohio who has dealings with the Territorial Land Office." She reached into her coat, produced a letter, set it on Caldwell's desk. "He wrote back yesterday. I was going to tell you this morning." Lucas looked at the letter, then at her. "You wrote to someone in the land office," he said. "I wrote to someone who knows someone in the land office," she said, "who confirmed that the Eastern Valley Railroad Survey is on file, and that there is an annotation, a handwritten annotation on the survey map, indicating that the right-of-way corridor requires negotiation with the landowner of the eastern pasture section." She looked at Caldwell. "The annotation gives a name. The name is Lucas Reed." Caldwell picked up the letter and read it. The office was very quiet. He set it down. "Carter knew from the day the survey was filed that he needed your land," Caldwell said to Lucas. "It was in the document, annotated. And he came to me with a land offer 2 months after Clara died," Lucas said. His voice was level, but the muscle in his jaw was working. "He waited until I was at my lowest point, and he came with an offer, and when I said no, he went to the creek. And when the water pressure didn't break you, he started the fraud schemes," Anna said. "Building capital while continuing to apply pressure. 2 tracks at the same time." Caldwell stood up from his desk. He went to his filing cabinet, opened it, and pulled out a folder. He set it on the desk and opened it. "This," while he said, "is what I have from the Davis case. The water rights dispute Carter won 4 years ago. At the time, I couldn't connect it to a larger pattern." He looked at them. "I can connect it now." Anna looked at the Davis file. "Davis's land," she said. "Where is it relative to the survey corridor?" Caldwell pointed to the map. Davis's land was on the western approach to the valley. Not the same corridor, but adjacent. An alternative routing that the railroad might have considered if the eastern route proved unviable. "Carter secured the western alternative against him too," she said. "Yes," Caldwell said. "I think he's been systematically clearing every obstacle to the eastern route for 4 years. Davis on the west, Reed in the middle, and then the capital schemes to fund the whole operation while the land pressure worked." Lucas looked at the map for a long time. "He built a war," Lucas said. "A quiet war, against people who didn't know they were fighting." "They know now," Anna said. She looked at Caldwell. "Sarah Pratt arrives Tuesday," she said. "Davis is already on file. We have the bank documents, the survey annotation, the dam assessment, the mortgage record, and the Davis precedent." She paused. "What do we file first and when?" Caldwell looked at her with the expression of a man who has been practicing law for 20 years and has rarely been in the company of someone who thinks at this pace. Water rights injunction first, he said. We file Monday. It's the strongest single document, and it's the most time-sensitive once the injunction is filed. Carter is legally prohibited from interfering with the creek further. That stops his ability to increase pressure. He picked up his pen. While that's being processed, I file the fraud complaint. The bank draft Sarah Pratt's supporting testimony when she arrives, the Davis connection. That goes to the territorial prosecutor, not just civil court, because what Carter has done crosses into criminal fraud. And the railroad, Anna said. I write to the railroad's legal office in Denver, Caldwell said. I inform them that there is an active legal dispute involving the right-of-way corridor on the eastern route, and that any agreement Carter may have made or attempted to make regarding that corridor is subject to the outcome of current proceedings. That stops Carter from selling or leveraging the right-of-way while the case is active, Anna said. Yes, Caldwell said. And it puts the railroad on notice that Carter doesn't have clean title to deliver what he's been promising them. Lucas said he's been promising them a right-of-way he doesn't control. Almost certainly, Caldwell said. The three of them sat with that for a moment. Then Anna said, he's going to find out about all of this very quickly. His contact in the land office, whoever's been watching your office the moment the injunction is filed, Carter knows. Yes, Caldwell said. What does he do? She said. Caldwell looked at her directly. In my experience, when a man like Carter realizes the walls are closing in, he does one of two things. He either attempts a negotiated exit, comes to us with an offer to settle before it goes to a judge, or he escalates, makes a move aggressive enough that he thinks it will end things before they get to court. Which do you think Carter will do? Lucas said. Caldwell considered this. He has political connections and no money, Caldwell said. A negotiated exit requires money. Escalation requires connections. He paused. He'll escalate, Anna said. Then we need to be ready. She looked at Lucas. He looked at her. What does escalation look like? He said to Caldwell. Could be legal harassment, filing counter-complaints challenging your standing, trying to make the process expensive and slow, Caldwell said. Could be social, using his connections to affect your reputation, your credit, your ability to operate. He paused. Could be direct. Define direct, Lucas said quietly. Property dispute, Caldwell said. Claiming a boundary encroachment. Forcing an emergency surveying process that ties up the land while the courts sort it. He paused again. Or something less formal. The office was very quiet. He won't come himself, Anna said. She was thinking out loud. He never does anything himself. He sends letters. He sends people. He constructs situations. Carter is a man who operates through intermediaries. Gerald Marsh, Lucas said. Marsh and whoever else he can pay, she said. Which, given his financial situation, may be fewer people than he thinks. She looked at Caldwell. File the injunction Monday. Whatever he tries in response, we'll be ahead of it by then. They spent another hour in Caldwell's office going through every document, every connection, building the case piece by piece, with the methodical thoroughness that Caldwell brought to everything, and that Anna matched without effort, and that Lucas contributed to, with a specific practical knowledge of the land and the valley, and the people in it that neither of the others had. It was, Anna thought, exactly the kind of collaboration that felt natural, three people with different skills, building something none of them could build alone. She thought about this on the ride back to the ranch. About what it meant that she had arrived here with nothing, no money, no position, no plan, and had found in 9 days a problem she could actually help solve. Not because she had anything exceptional, because she had looked at the available information without flinching. You're quiet, Lucas said. I'm thinking, she said. About? She considered whether to answer honestly. She decided honesty was the only currency she was interested in spending. About the fact that I came here because William Carter sent me letters full of lies, she said. And I'm now sitting in a place where those lies led me, and the place is... She stopped. Started again. The place is not what I expected, but it's real. And the work is real. And I can see exactly what it could be if the right things happen. She looked at the road ahead. I'm thinking about what it means that the worst thing that happened to me led me somewhere I didn't know I needed to be. Lucas was quiet for a moment. Clara used to say that, he said. That the path to a good thing almost always looks like the wrong road at the time. Anna looked at him. He was looking at the road ahead. His profile, the jaw, the set of his shoulders that she had learned to read over 9 days like a secondary language. She sounds like she was wise, Anna said. She was, he said, wiser than me usually. I was better at the practical things. She was better at, he paused, at seeing what things meant, not just what they were. You see things, Anna said. He glanced at her. You saw me, she said, at the station. You didn't just see a problem, you saw a person. He held her gaze for a moment. Yes, he said. They rode the rest of the way in the particular quiet of people who have said something real and are letting it settle. Sarah Pratt arrived on the Tuesday train. She was 32 years old, small-framed with the careful, watchful quality of a woman who has been caught off guard once and has reorganized herself so that it will not happen again. She came off the train with a single bag and the expression of a person who is frightened and has decided to be here anyway, which was a specific kind of courage Anna recognized immediately. Anna was at the station to meet her, alone. Lucas had offered to come. She had said no, that Sarah Pratt would be more comfortable initially with another woman. That the story of what had happened to her was one she would need to tell in her own time and in her own way, and that having a man present at the first meeting might make that harder. Lucas had understood this immediately and without argument, which was one of the things Anna had come to depend on about him, his capacity to understand things that other men might have argued about. Sarah Pratt stepped onto the platform and looked around, and her eyes landed on Anna with the tentative recognition of a woman who has memorized a written description and is matching it to a face. Miss Whitmore, she said. Miss Pratt, Anna said. Thank you for coming. Sarah Pratt looked at her for a moment. Your letter said you weren't leaving, she said. I'm not, Anna said. I read that 3 times, Sarah said. Nobody had said that before. About staying. Something moved through her face. Every other time someone talked about Carter, they were either leaving or keeping quiet. You said you were staying and fighting, and you wanted me to come back. She paused. Why? Because what he did to you is connected to what he did to me, Anna said. And to other people. And the only way to stop him is to build a case that shows the full picture. 1 woman's account he can dismiss. 3 women's accounts connected to a land scheme and a water rights dispute and a bank that didn't follow written instructions. That's something a judge has to take seriously. Sarah Pratt looked at her for a long moment. 3 women, she said. You, me, and a woman before you whose name we're still trying to find, Anna said. And a rancher named Davis who lost a water rights case 4 years ago that we think connects to all of it. How long have you been here? Sarah said. 11 days, Anna said. Something shifted in Sarah Pratt's face. Something between astonishment and the specific emotion of a woman who has been told in 100 ways over a long time that she was not capable of much, seeing someone who looks very similar to her being capable of a great deal. 11 days, she said. Come and have coffee, Anna said, and tell me about the letters. Sarah Pratt had saved every letter William Carter had ever sent her. 14 of them, spanning 8 months of correspondence, folded carefully into an envelope that she had kept, she told Anna, over coffee in the small hotel where she was staying, in the lining of her winter coat. Because she had known, even at her lowest point, after arriving and finding nothing and losing everything, that someday someone would want to read them, and she needed to be ready for that day. Anna read all 14 letters over the course of 2 hours. They were careful letters. Charming, specific, detailed. Carter was not a careless man with language. He had described the ranch, the valley, the opportunities, the life he was offering, with enough particularity that it felt real. He had mentioned her money directly in 3 letters, each time framing it as practical preparation, as evidence of her seriousness, as a way of establishing her standing in the new community. He had told her it was an investment in her own future. $300. Anna set the last letter down. He refined his approach. Between you and me, she said. With me, he asked for the money in the first 2 letters. With you, he waited until the 5th. She looked at Sarah. He was learning what worked. Sarah pressed her lips together. He practiced on me, she said. He practiced on the woman before you, Anna said. You were the refinement. I was the version he'd optimized. And yet you're the one who didn't disappear. Sarah said. I had nowhere to disappear to, Anna said. That turned out to be useful. She gathered the letters carefully. I need to take these to Arthur Caldwell, she said. He's our lawyer. He'll want to review them before we file the fraud complaint. She looked at Sarah. Are you all right with that? With him seeing everything? If it stops him, Sarah said, he can read them in the town square. Caldwell read the letters Thursday morning. He read them with the focused quiet Anna had come to associate with him processing something significant, and when he finished he sat back and said, These establish a pattern going back at least 2 years before he approached Reed. Which means the scheme was running before Clara died, Anna said. Possibly, Caldwell said. Or it started after and accelerated. Either way, he set the letters down. These are extraordinary. He looked at Sarah, who was sitting beside Anna. Miss Pratt, you've kept these in remarkable condition. I was waiting for someone to ask for them, Sarah said. Caldwell looked at her. You expected to use them someday, he said. I expected someone would eventually try to stop him, she said. I was waiting for it to be time. Something in Caldwell's face softened briefly, the professional composure breaking for just a moment to show the human being underneath it. It's time, he said. He filed the water rights injunction that afternoon. By Friday morning, William Carter knew. Anna was in the barn with Lucas. They had been working through the budget projections she'd developed, going over each line with the detailed attention that the numbers deserved when Gerald Marsh appeared at the gate for the second time. This time he didn't have the messenger's careful neutrality. He looked like a man who had been sent out in a hurry by someone who was no longer thinking clearly. Lucas saw him first. Marsh, he said, quietly, to Anna. She straightened up and turned. They walked to the gate together as they had before with the same alignment. Marsh looked between them. Mr. Carter wants to meet, he said. Tomorrow, at his place. No, Lucas said. Marsh blinked. He's willing to discuss. No, Lucas said again. Same tone. Not louder. Not harder. Just certain. There may be an opportunity to resolve this without... Mr. Marsh, Anna said. Please tell Mr. Carter that we have a lawyer, and all communications should go through Arthur Caldwell's office. That is our only message. Marsh looked at her. Something in his face was different than it had been the first time. Less professional. More unsettled. He's not going to accept that, Marsh said. He doesn't have to accept it, Anna said. It's simply what's true. Marsh stood for another moment. Then he said, and this time it was the voice of a man going off script, saying something that wasn't in the message he'd been given. Miss Whitmore, I'm going to tell you something that's not what I was sent to say. She waited. He's not in a stable position right now, Marsh said. I've worked for him for 2 years. I know the difference between when he's operating from a plan and when he's reacting. Right now, he's reacting. And when he reacts... He stopped. He does things he can't take back. The gate was between them. Anna looked at Gerald Marsh across it. This man who had delivered threats and now was delivering something else. Something that was either genuine warning or a more sophisticated form of manipulation. She made her calculation. Thank you, Mr. Marsh, she said. We'll be careful. He nodded. He left. She turned to Lucas. He's warning us, Lucas said. Maybe, she said. You think it's a manipulation? He said. I think it might be both, she said. A man who has been working for Carter for 2 years and is starting to see which way the wind is blowing. He might be covering himself. He might also be telling the truth. She paused. Either way, the warning is useful. We get careful, Lucas said. We get careful, she agreed. What happened Saturday was the thing none of them had planned for, because Carter did not do what Caldwell had predicted. He did not send lawyers, or file counterclaims, or challenge boundaries. He did not come himself. He sent someone to the hotel where Sarah Pratt was staying. Anna didn't know about it until Saturday afternoon, when Sarah came to the ranch, arriving on foot faster than Anna had ever seen her move. And when she came through the gate, her face was white, and her jaw was set with the specific expression of a woman who is frightened and furious in equal measure, and is not sure which one to lead with. He sent someone to my room, Sarah said. Anna took her by the arm and brought her inside. Lucas was in the kitchen. He read the situation in 1 second and stood up. Who? Anna said. What happened? A woman, Sarah said. I don't know her name. She knocked on my door and said she was from the Women's Aid Society, and she wanted to talk to me about my situation. I let her in. She pressed her hands flat on the kitchen table. She spent 20 minutes telling me that what had happened to me was partly my own fault for being too trusting. That a woman who sends money to a man she hasn't met in person is displaying a failure of judgment that a court would take into account. That the kind of woman who travels alone to meet a man is... She stopped. Her jaw was tight. She was trying to make you feel responsible, Anna said. So you'd drop the testimony. She also said, Sarah continued, that Arthur Caldwell has a reputation for taking cases he can't win, and that his clients often end up worse off than when they started. That is completely false, Lucas said, flat, direct. I know it's false, Sarah said. I didn't let her finish. I told her to leave. She looked at Anna. But Anna, my letters, she mentioned them. She said something about letters being used out of context. She knew about the letters. The kitchen was very quiet. She knew about the letters, Anna said slowly. She said specifically that letters written in a private romantic context could be reinterpreted when presented to a court, and that the interpretation might not favor me. Sarah paused. She knew the letters existed. She knew what was in them. Anna looked at Lucas. He was looking at her. Carter has someone in Caldwell's office, Lucas said. Or between us and Caldwell, Anna said. Someone who saw the letters, or was told about them. She thought fast. Does Caldwell have a clerk? She said. A young man, Lucas said. John Hughes. He's been there. He paused. He's been there about a year. Carter hired him, Anna said. It wasn't a question. We don't know that, Lucas said. But his voice said he thought it was probable. We need to tell Caldwell, Anna said. Today. She looked at Sarah. Are you all right? She said. Sarah Pratt looked at her for a moment. Then she said with the very particular voice of a woman who has been frightened and has decided it was the last time, I'm not dropping the testimony. I know, Anna said. He sent a woman to make me feel ashamed of myself, Sarah said. Of my own judgment, in my own room. She pressed her lips together. If he can do that to me, he's done it to others. He'll do it again. Yes, Anna said. Then I'm not dropping it, Sarah said. Lucas looked at Anna. I'll get the horses, he said. Caldwell. When they told him about the clerk, was silent for 30 seconds. The particular silence of a man who is doing several things at once, internally processing the breach, assessing the damage, deciding what to do next. Containing his reaction to all of the above. Then he called into the front room Hughes. John Hughes appeared in the doorway. He was young, 20 or so, unremarkable featured, with the expression of a person who has just heard his name called in a tone that he recognizes as significant. You're dismissed, Caldwell said. Clean your desk. I'll mail your final payment. Hughes opened his mouth. Don't, Caldwell said. Hughes looked at Anna, then at Lucas, then at Sarah. He left. Caldwell turned to his filing cabinet. He moved the entire Carter case file, every document, every letter, every survey and bank record from the main drawer to a locked box in his inner office. He locked it. He put the key in his vest pocket. He turned back to them. The damage is limited, he said. He knows about the letters and knows they've been filed. He doesn't know the water rights injunction is already processed that was filed under seal at the county court, not here. He paused. And he doesn't know about the third piece. What third piece? Lucas said. Caldwell looked at him with the expression of a man who has been waiting for the right moment to deploy something. I wrote to the railroad's legal office on Monday, he said, informing them of the active dispute regarding the eastern route right-of-way. He paused. They wrote back by express courier yesterday morning. He produced a letter from his vest pocket. He read the key section aloud. The Denver and Northern Pacific Railroad wishes to confirm that any agreement or representation made by any party regarding right-of-way access on the Eastern Valley Corridor is not binding until a formal right-of-way agreement has been executed through our legal office. We are placing a hold on all Eastern Corridor negotiations pending resolution of the reported dispute. The room was silent. He can't sell them the right-of-way, Anna said slowly. Even if he gets Lucas's land somehow, even if he managed some kind of forced sale or acquisition, the railroad has already been told the corridor is disputed. They won't execute an agreement while this case is active. Which means, Lucas said, his creditors, Caldwell said, when they find out the railroad has placed a hold on Eastern Corridor negotiations, they'll call his loans, Anna said. He borrowed against a land value that depended on the railroad confirming the eastern route. If the railroad is in hold, the land isn't worth what he borrowed against it, Lucas said. He's already finished, Caldwell said. He just doesn't know it yet. He folded the railroad letter and put it back in his pocket. Monday morning, he said, I filed the full fraud complaint with the territorial prosecutor. Bank draft. Sarah's testimony. Davis's supporting statement. The letters, the dam, the right-of-way, all of it together. One complete picture. He looked at them. Carter will receive official notice of the complaint by Tuesday at the latest. At that point, his creditors will also receive notice because the complaint becomes public record. And then, Sarah said, and then, Caldwell said, we let the law do what it's supposed to do. They left Caldwell's office in the late afternoon, the three of them, Anna, Lucas, Sarah, and stood for a moment on the street outside. Sarah was the first to speak. Is it over? She said. The hard part is over, Anna said. The rest is process. Sarah looked at her. How do you know? Anna thought about this. Because everything we've done has been about building something solid, she said. The dam evidence, the bank records, the letters, the railroad letter. Carter has been reacting to us for 2 weeks. Reacting men make mistakes. Building people make foundations. She paused. We have a foundation. He has a reaction. Sarah absorbed this. You should have been a lawyer, she said. I was a teacher, Anna said. It's the same skill set with a different audience. Sarah almost laughed. Not quite, she wasn't ready to laugh yet, Anna could see that, but close. Where will you go? Lucas said to Sarah, after this is settled. Sarah was quiet for a moment. I haven't decided, she said. I came back here because of the case. I haven't thought much past it. Think past it, Anna said. Whatever comes next, think past the case. Because the case will end, and you should know what you're walking toward, not just what you're walking away from. Sarah Pratt looked at Anna Whitmore with the specific expression of a woman who has just been told something she needed to hear. Is that what you did? She said. Walk toward something. Anna glanced at Lucas. He was looking at her. I'm working on it, she said. That evening back at the ranch after Sarah had gone back to the hotel and the horses were settled and the kitchen was quiet, Lucas came and sat across from Anna at the table where the account books were spread, where they had spent so many evenings in the last 2 weeks, working through the numbers and the plans and the architecture of what the ranch could become. He didn't open the books. He looked at her. I want to say something, he said. Say it, she said. When Clara died, he said, I made a decision. Not consciously, but I made it. I decided that the right size for my life was exactly as big as I could manage alone. And I managed it. For 4 years. He held her gaze. You've been here 2 weeks, and the size of my life is... He stopped. Searched for the word with the focused effort she recognized as him, taking language seriously. Unrecognizable, he said, compared to what it was. She looked at him. I want to be honest about what I'm feeling, he said. Because I've been careful with it, maybe too careful, and you should know where I am. Tell me where you are, she said. He stopped again. Then, I haven't wanted a future in 4 years. I wanted continuation. I wanted enough. I didn't want more than enough because wanting more than enough meant depending on something I might lose. He looked at his hands, then at her. I want more than enough now. The kitchen was very quiet. That's what you wanted to say, she said. Yes, he said. She looked at him for a long moment. Lucas, she said. I came here with nothing, and in 2 weeks I have account books I've reorganized and a legal case I've helped build, and a woman I've brought back from Denver to testify, and a creek that is about to have its water restored, and a future that has a shape I can describe. She paused. All of that happened because you stopped at a station at 9 o'clock on a Monday night when you didn't have to. She held his gaze. I know exactly where I am. And where I am is here. And here is where I intend to stay. He was still for a long moment. Then he said, That's not a small thing to say. I know, she said. You've been here 2 weeks, he said. You stopped on a dark road after 30 seconds, she said. He looked at her. The corner of his mouth moved. Fair, he said. And outside, the Wyoming night was doing what it always did, vast and cold and indifferent to the small warm light in one ranch house kitchen. But inside that kitchen, two people who had both been reduced to the minimum of what they could survive were sitting across from each other and choosing with their eyes open and their histories fully present and no illusions about how hard the road had been to want more than enough. The creek water. When Caldwell's injunction was enforced the following Wednesday and Carter's dam was legally ordered removed, would take 3 days to fully restore its flow to the east pasture. Anna would be standing in the field when it came through. Lucas would be beside her. And the water moving through dry channels that had been waiting 4 years for it to return would sound exactly like what it was. Something that should never have been stopped. Finally, unmistakably running free. And Anna Whitmore stood in the east pasture and listened to it, and felt in the soles of her feet and the base of her chest the specific vibration of a thing being restored to its right condition after too long in the wrong one. Lucas stood beside her. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. The water moved through the channel she had sketched in her notebook 3 weeks ago. The dry banks, the desperate lean of the plants along the edge, and now those same banks were being reached. The soil darkening, the roots getting what they had been waiting for. 4 years, Lucas said. It's running now, she said. He looked at her. She looked back. And what passed between them in that moment was not a declaration or a promise or anything that required words. It was simply the recognition, mutual and clear, that the dry thing was running and the stopped thing was moving, and that both of them, in their separate ways, were describing the same truth about more than just a creek. We need to get the fencing order in this week, she said. If we want the east pasture ready for stock by May. I know, he said. And the north fence posts, she said. That repair entry is not going in the books again this year. Agreed, he said. And I want to talk to Halverson about the grazing arrangement by Friday. He looked at her with the steady Riverstone eyes. Anna, he said. What? We can talk about the fence posts tomorrow, he said. She looked at the water. She let herself be still for a moment, which was harder than it sounded for a woman who had kept herself in motion for 3 weeks as a way of not having to feel the full weight of everything that had happened. All right, she said. They stood by the creek and listened to the water and let tomorrow be tomorrow. The fraud complaint went to the territorial prosecutor on Monday exactly as Caldwell had promised. By Tuesday afternoon, word had moved through Millhaven, the way serious news always moves in a small territory, fast, with details that were mostly accurate, and a few that were not spreading from the courthouse to the general store to the hotel dining room, to every ranch kitchen within 10 miles. William Carter was being investigated for fraud. The bank was implicated. The creek diversion had been declared an illegal obstruction. The railroad had placed a hold on Eastern Corridor negotiations. Anna heard the version that reached the ranch through Halverson's wife, who came by Wednesday morning with a jar of preserved peaches and the particular expression of a woman who has news she considers important enough to deliver in person. The whole valley is talking, Martha Halverson said, sitting at the kitchen table with her coffee. I've heard 3 different versions, and they're all variations on the same truth, which is that Carter has been running schemes and someone finally had the documents to prove it. Someone did, Anna said. Martha looked at her directly. They're saying it was you. It was several people, Anna said. Mr. Caldwell, Mr. Reed, a woman named Sarah Pratt, who came back from Denver specifically to give testimony. A rancher named Davis, who'd been waiting 4 years for someone to reopen his case. But you put it together, Martha said. Anna picked up her coffee. I read the account books, she said. Everything was already there. Martha Halverson shook her head slowly. You've been here 3 weeks, she said. Yes, Anna said. And you did all of that in 3 weeks. I had good help, Anna said, and meant it completely. Martha was quiet for a moment. Then she said, My husband wants to talk to Lucas about the grazing arrangement. He's been thinking about it seriously since you came by last week. Friday, Anna said. Come for dinner. Martha smiled. It was the warm, uncomplicated smile of a woman who has assessed something and reached a favorable conclusion. We'll be there, she said. The first real complication came on Thursday. Caldwell sent a message by courier. A boy who arrived at the ranch gate mid-morning and handed Lucas a folded note with the instruction that it required a response. Lucas read it. He brought it inside and put it on the table in front of Anna. She read it. Caldwell's handwriting was ordinarily precise. This note was written with slightly more speed than usual, which told her something about his state of mind when he wrote it. Carter's lawyer has filed a counter-complaint. He's alleging that Miss Whitmore had a prior relationship with Carter before arriving in the territory, and that the bank draft was a voluntary personal transfer, not a fraudulent solicitation. He's also alleging that the water diversion was a natural geological formation that occurred independently of Carter's land management. He's named 3 witnesses. I need to see you both today if possible. Anna set the note down. A prior relationship, Lucas said. He's going to say I went to him willingly, Anna said. That the money was a gift or an investment in a personal arrangement, not a fraudulent solicitation. She was very calm. The calculation was already running. And the 3 witnesses, they'll be people who can testify to having seen correspondence between us that looked personal rather than professional. Was the correspondence personal? Lucas said, not accusing, just asking. It was what a woman writes when a man has been writing to her for 6 months, with charm and detail, and apparently genuine feeling, she said. It looked personal because he made it look personal. That was the mechanism of the scheme. She paused. He's going to try to use my own letters against me. Lucas was still. Can he do that? He said. He can try, she said. Whether it works depends on what the letters actually say and how Caldwell presents the context. She stood up. We need to go. They were in Caldwell's office within the hour. Caldwell had Carter's countercomplaint spread across his desk. He had also, Anna noticed immediately, a separate folder beside it, thicker than the countercomplaint already tabbed and organized, which told her he had been working since the countercomplaint arrived and was already several steps into the response. His lawyer is Thomas Vane, Caldwell said. Denver firm. Carter must have hired him recently. He wasn't involved earlier, which means Carter called in an external resource when he understood the local situation wasn't containable. Expensive, Lucas said. Very, Caldwell said. Which tells us something about Carter's priorities. He's spending money he doesn't have to stop this case from going forward. Or someone is spending it for him, Anna said. Caldwell looked at her. His creditors, she said. If Carter's creditors understand that the railroad hold is connected to this case, they might finance his defense rather than lose their investment entirely. A successful counter-complaint that discredits the fraud case gives Carter enough credibility to renegotiate his loans. Caldwell sat back. That, he said, is a very sophisticated reading of the situation. Is it accurate? She said. Almost certainly, he said. Which means we're not just fighting Carter anymore. We're fighting Carter's money, which is actually his creditors' money, which is actually the investment banking community of Denver's money. He paused. That is a more formidable opponent than Roy Cathcart with a fraudulent surveyor. What do we do? Lucas said. We stay on the facts, Anna said, before Caldwell could answer. The facts don't change because the opposition gets more expensive. The bank signed Bates's documents. The dam was built. Sarah Pratt has 14 letters. Davis has 4 years of water rights records. She looked at Caldwell. What does Vane's counter-complaint actually have? Caldwell looked at the document. 3 witnesses who will testify to having seen romantic correspondence from Anna to Carter, he said. Which? He looked at Anna. Did you write letters to Carter that could be characterized as romantic? I wrote letters to a man I believed was building a life with me, she said. In that context, yes. They had warmth. They had hope. They had... She paused. They had the writing of a woman who believed what she was told. Vane will argue they show a voluntary personal arrangement, Caldwell said. Not a solicitation. Then we need to show the letters Carter sent me, Anna said. All of them, side by side with mine, because his letters to me were specific about money. They asked directly. They framed it as practical preparation, and mine in response trusted that framing. She looked at Caldwell. You don't read my letters alone. You read them alongside his in the order we exchanged them. In that order, the manipulation is visible. Caldwell looked at her for a moment. Do you have your letters from Carter? He said. Everyone? She said. Lucas looked at her. You kept them, he said quietly. I kept them on the train, she said. When I read his last letter on the platform, I put all the others in my bag and I kept them. Because I knew something had been done to me, and I didn't know yet what the shape of it was, but I knew the letters were the shape of it. She paused. I was a teacher for 7 years. I know that evidence is only useful if you have it. Caldwell opened his desk drawer and produced a blank sheet of paper. I'm going to need all of them, he said. And I want to review them today. Both sets, yours and Sarah Pratt's, so I can build the comparative presentation. He looked at her. This is going to require you to let me read things that were written privately, he said. Things that were written with trust and feeling. I want you to know that I understand what I'm asking. Anna looked at him steadily. Read them, she said. Every word. Use whatever you need. The only thing I care about is that it works. The twist that changed everything came 2 hours later while Caldwell was still reading. It came in the form of a knock at Caldwell's office door. Sharp, quick. The knock of someone who has been moving fast and is not interested in ceremony. Caldwell's new clerk. A middle-aged woman he had hired on Wednesday specifically because he was not going to make the same mistake twice opened the door. The man standing outside was someone Anna didn't recognize. 60s, weathered with the look of a man who works land for a living and has dressed up to come to town in a way that suggested the dressing up was recent and deliberate. My name is Walter Davis, he said. I need to speak to Mr. Caldwell. Anna looked at Lucas. Walter Davis, the rancher whose water rights case Carter had won 4 years ago. Caldwell stood up. Come in, Mr. Davis, he said. Davis came in. He looked at Anna and Lucas recognized them. She could see it in the slight adjustment of his face, and then looked at Caldwell. I have something, he said. He pulled an envelope from his coat. I've had it for 4 years. I didn't know what it meant then. When I heard about the case against Carter this week, I understood what it meant. He held out the envelope. I need someone to tell me I'm right. Caldwell took the envelope. He opened it. He read the single page inside. He read it twice. He set it very carefully on his desk. He looked up at Davis. Where did you get this? He said. Carter's foreman, Davis said. A man named Bill Marsh, Gerald Marsh's brother. He quit Carter's employ about 6 months after the water rights case. Said Carter had asked him to do things he wasn't willing to do. Davis paused. He gave me this before he left the valley. Said I might need it someday. What is it? Lucas said. Caldwell looked at them. It is a letter, he said, from William Carter to a survey company in Denver. Dated 3 months before he built the dam on Davis's water source. He looked at the page. In this letter, Carter instructs the survey company to produce a geological assessment characterizing the diversion point on Davis's Creek as a natural formation susceptible to seasonal variation predating any land management on Carter's part. He paused. He paid for a fraudulent geological survey before he built the dam, so that if Davis challenged the diversion, the evidence would already exist showing it was natural. The office was completely silent. He did the same thing to me, Lucas said. With the same method, Anna said. Pre-built the defense before executing the offense. She looked at Caldwell. That letter documents premeditated fraud, not opportunism, not carelessness. A plan in writing in Carter's own hand. Caldwell was already standing. This changes the criminal complaint, he said. This elevates it from fraud to conspiracy, potentially to racketeering depending on how the prosecutor reads the pattern. He looked at Davis. Mr. Davis, I need to ask you some questions. This may take some time. I've been waiting 4 years, Davis said. I have time. Anna looked at Lucas. His face was doing something she recognized, the specific controlled quality of a person holding a very large feeling very carefully, like something that might break if you let go of it all at once. She reached across and put her hand on his arm. He looked down at it, then at her. It's going to hold, she said quietly. Everything we've built, it's going to hold. He covered her hand with his. I know, he said. Carter's response to the escalated complaint arrived not through his lawyer, but in person. He came to Caldwell's office himself on Friday morning. Anna and Lucas were not there when he arrived. They heard about it from Caldwell that afternoon, told with the precise, slightly wondering quality of a man who had watched something happen that he had expected and still found astonishing. Carter had come alone. No Marsh. No lawyer. He had sat in the client chair across from Caldwell's desk and he had looked, Caldwell said, like a man who had slept very little and was operating on the specific energy of someone who has run out of good options and is down to the last ones. He had offered a settlement. Full restitution to Anna, $240. Full restitution to Sarah Pratt, $300. A formal agreement to restore the creek to its natural course, signed and notarized. And a withdrawal of the counter-complaint, effective immediately. In exchange for a joint dismissal of all criminal and civil complaints against him, Caldwell had told him he would relay the offer. He relayed it to Anna and Lucas at the ranch that afternoon, sitting at the kitchen table with the account books pushed aside to make room for this different kind of accounting. "He's offering you your money," Caldwell said. "Both of you, you and Sarah. And the creek, which is already restored by injunction, and the counter-complaint withdrawal." He looked at Anna. "In exchange for letting him walk away from the criminal complaint." Anna was quiet. Lucas was quiet. "What does the criminal complaint mean for him?" Anna said. "If it goes forward. If the prosecutor takes the Davis letter as premeditated fraud." Caldwell said, "Carter is looking at a criminal conviction, potential imprisonment, definite disbarment from any future land dealings in the territory. His creditors faced with a convicted fraudster would call every loan immediately." He paused. "He loses everything. And if we take the settlement," Lucas said. "You get your money," Caldwell said. "Carter gets to leave the territory quietly. The criminal complaint dies. His creditors negotiate a restructuring. He probably relocates and starts over somewhere else." The kitchen was very quiet. "He'll do it again," Sarah said. She was sitting at the end of the table. She had been there when Caldwell arrived. She said it simply, without heat, as a statement of the thing she knew to be true. "He'll find another valley," she said. "Another woman traveling alone. Another rancher with a grief he can exploit. And he'll do it again." Anna looked at her. "Yes," Anna said, "he will." She looked at Caldwell. "What does the prosecutor need from us to go forward with the criminal complaint?" she said. "Your cooperation and testimony," Caldwell said. "Which you've already given. The Davis letter, the surveyor's report, Sarah's letters." He paused. "It's a strong case, Anna. Stronger than anything I've had against Carter before." "Then we don't take the settlement," Anna said. Lucas looked at her. "It's your money," he said carefully. $240. It's real." "I know what it is," she said. "I know exactly what $240 is. I counted it 7 years, $1 at a time." She held his gaze. "But if we take the settlement, the criminal complaint dies, and Carter goes somewhere else, and finds someone who hasn't been lucky enough to land at a ranch 3 miles from a station at 9 o'clock on a Monday night." She paused. "I don't want to be the reason the next one doesn't have what I had." Lucas was still for a long moment. Then he said, "We don't take it." Sarah said, "We don't take it." Caldwell looked at all three of them. "All right," he said. He picked up his pen. "I'll inform Vane by tomorrow morning." Carter's creditors pulled his loans the following Tuesday. The news reached Millhaven by Wednesday. Carter's mortgage holders in Denver, having received notice that the criminal fraud complaint was proceeding to the territorial prosecutor and that Carter's ability to deliver the railroad right-of-way was legally blocked, had called all outstanding loans simultaneously. Carter's land was being seized for debt. The eastern pasture he had spent 4 years trying to acquire, the valley land he had mortgaged and schemed and defrauded people to leverage all of it, was going to public auction. He had left the territory by Thursday. Gerald Marsh came to the ranch one final time without being sent on a Thursday evening when the light was going gold over the ridge. Anna was on the porch. Lucas was in the barn. She saw Marsh coming up the road and stood up and waited. He stopped his horse at the gate. "He's gone," Marsh said. "I know," she said. He turned his hat in his hands. "I want you to know that I told him when this started getting serious, that he should settle the whole thing, pay back what he took, and stop." He paused. He didn't listen. Men who build systems around taking other people's things rarely listen when they're told to stop, Anna said. Stopping would require admitting the system was wrong. Marsh was quiet for a moment. "I should have come to you sooner," he said. "When I came to warn you, I should have done more than warn." She looked at him. "You came twice," she said. "The first time you delivered his message. The second time you went off script because your conscience got the better of you. That's more than most people manage." He looked at her with the particular expression of a man who expected to be condemned and has been offered something more nuanced instead. "Thank you," he said. "Don't thank me," she said. "Just don't work for the next William Carter you meet." He almost smiled. He rode away. Lucas came out of the barn in time to see Marsh disappearing down the road. "Marsh," Anna said. "I know," Lucas said. I heard from the porch. He came to stand beside her. Are you all right? Yes, she said. And the yes was real and full and unhesitating. The yes of a woman who has checked in with herself and found the answer she expected. The auction of Carter's land happened on a Saturday in early May. Caldwell attended. He came back to the ranch Sunday morning with the results. Carter's land. The 8 miles east, the valuable parcel adjacent to the railroad survey corridor, had sold to a consortium of local ranchers who had pooled resources specifically to prevent an outside buyer from locking up the Eastern Valley. Walter Davis was part of the consortium. So was Halverson. And 2 other families from the valley, whom Anna had met in passing and whose names she was still learning. The right-of-way through Lucas's east pasture, the corridor that Carter had needed and couldn't get, was now being negotiated directly between the railroad and Lucas Reed, with Arthur Caldwell representing Reed's interests. And the preliminary terms were, Caldwell said, with the particular satisfaction of a man who has done his job well, significantly favorable to the landowner. What does that mean exactly? Lucas said. It means the railroad pays you for the right-of-way, Caldwell said. A lump sum and an annual easement fee. The corridor goes through the far edge of the east pasture. It doesn't disrupt the grazing. He set the preliminary terms on the table. You should read this. Lucas read it. He set it down. He looked at Anna. She looked at the numbers on the page. That changes the budget projections, she said. Yes, Lucas said. Significantly. The fence posts, she said. Yes, he said. The additional stock. Yes. The east pasture development. All of it, he said. She looked at the numbers again. All of it, she said. Caldwell watched them. I'll leave you to discuss it, he said, with the composure of a man who understands when he is the third person in a room where there are really only 2. He left. They sat at the kitchen table with the railroad terms between them. Lucas was looking at the page. Anna was looking at Lucas. 4 years ago, she said, Carter came to you and offered to buy the east pasture. You said no. Yes, he said. And because you said no, he built the dam. And because he built the dam, the pasture stayed undeveloped. And because the pasture stayed undeveloped, the ranch ran at half capacity. And because the ranch ran at half capacity, she paused. You were alone. And you stayed alone. And when Carter's scheme brought me here, I found a man who had stopped planning for more than one person. He looked up from the page. Yes, he said. And because of all of that, she said, Carter is gone, and the creek is running, and the east pasture is going to be developed, and the railroad is paying you for a right-of-way that runs through the exact land Carter spent 4 years trying to steal. She looked at the numbers. He tried to take everything from you, and instead, he handed you the best outcome the ranch has ever had. Lucas was quiet for a moment. He handed us that, he said, carefully, the specific weight of the plural. She held his gaze. Yes, she said, he did. He reached across the table and took her hand. She turned her palm up. I have something to ask you, he said. She waited. Not as a business arrangement, he said, and not because it solves a legal problem, or makes the ranch more efficient, or because a lawyer suggested it. He looked at her directly. Because this is the kitchen where I want to be every morning. And you're the person I want to be in it with. He paused. For the rest of the time there is. The kitchen was completely quiet. Lucas Reed, she said. You just said something better than most people manage in a lifetime, she said. I meant it, he said. I know, she said. That's exactly why it's better than most people manage. She held his hand. Yes, she said. For the rest of the time there is. He looked at her. She looked at him. And outside, the Wyoming morning was doing what Wyoming mornings do, broad and cold and full of the particular light of a place that doesn't soften its honesty. For anyone but in the kitchen of the Reed Ranch, 2 people who had each lost the floor beneath them and rebuilt it separately. And then by the specific, improbable grace of one man stopping at a station at 9 o'clock on a Monday night, rebuilt it together, were sitting across a kitchen table with their hands held and their futures aligned, and the account books open to the page that showed for the first time in 4 years numbers that moved in the right direction. 2 months later, Arthur Caldwell filed the final paperwork on the criminal case against William Carter, who had been located in Kansas City and extradited back to Wyoming territory to answer the fraud charges. The territorial prosecutor took the case with the specific enthusiasm of a man who has been handed evidence that has already done most of his work for him, and the trial when it came was brief, and its outcome was not a surprise to anyone who had read the documents. Carter was convicted on 4 counts of criminal fraud. He was sentenced to 3 years. The restitution order included the full amounts taken from Anna, from Sarah Pratt, from the unnamed woman before them, and from Walter Davis in additional damages. Anna received her $240 in the 3rd month after the conviction. She deposited it in the Millhaven Bank, not with Harlan Bates, who had quietly resigned his position 2 months prior, and had Arthur Caldwell prepare the documents to add her name to the ranch deed exactly as she had discussed with Lucas, the day they understood the east pasture could be developed. The deed came back from the county clerk with both their names on it, printed and permanent. Lucas held it for a moment before he handed it to her. She read both names. She set it on the kitchen table between them. "Read and read," she said. He looked at her. "Read and read," he said. Sarah Pratt, who had stayed in Millhaven through the trial, came to the ranch the week after the conviction. She sat at the kitchen table, where so much had been decided, and said that she had been offered a teaching position at the Millhaven school. The board had heard she had experience, and the current teacher was leaving in August, and she wanted to know what Anna thought. "Take it," Anna said. "It's a small school," Sarah said. "Small schools need good teachers more than large ones," Anna said. Sarah looked around the kitchen. At the organized shelves, the account books on the corner shelf, the 2 coffee cups on the counter. "You're happy here," she said. Not a question. "Yes," Anna said. "I want to be happy somewhere," Sarah said. "Not sadly, as a goal, a direction." "Then stay," Anna said. "Build something. It doesn't have to be fast, and it doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "That's what you did," she said. "That's what I'm doing," Anna said. "Every day. It doesn't stop." Sarah looked at her. "Is that hard?" she said. Anna thought about the question honestly. "The hard part," she said, "was deciding it was worth doing. Everything after that is just work, and I know how to work." Sarah Pratt took the teaching position. She stayed. Halverson's wife told Anna later that summer that the valley felt different than it had in years. Lighter, she said, which was an odd word for it, but the right one. Like something that had been pressing down had been lifted. Anna thought about this. She thought about what it meant for a whole community to live under the shadow of a man who had been quietly taking from people water money, land, dignity, and to have that shadow removed. How the lifting of it changed the air. How people breathed differently when they stopped waiting for the next thing to be taken. She thought about Lucas, who had stopped planning for more than one person, now planning for next year and the year after, and the east pasture expansion, and the rail easement, and the additional stock, and everything that the ranch was becoming in the hands of 2 people who had decided together that it was worth more than survival. She thought about Pete Garfield, the old rancher who had opened a door for a 24-year-old Lucas Reed in the winter, and who had been dead 6 years, and who had no idea from wherever the dead go, that the door he opened had eventually led to this kitchen, and this table, and this woman, and this life that was running. Now running clear and full like a creek that has had its dam removed. She thought about that. On an evening in late August, a year nearly to the week from the night Anna Whitmore had stepped off a train with a letter in her hands and a life she'd expected to find that wasn't there. She and Lucas sat on the porch of the ranch house in the particular warmth of a Wyoming summer evening that always felt borrowed, always felt like something to be grateful for before the cold came back. Lucas was quiet in this way he was always quiet, completely comfortably, without the edged quality that silence has when something is wrong. Anna was watching the east pasture where the new fence posts were in, and the water was running, and the first additional stock, 23 head, brought in 3 weeks ago, were moving with the unhurried ease of animals that have enough room and enough water and enough grass. 1 year, Lucas said. Almost, she said. I was at the station to pick up a hardware order, he said. Hinges and fence staples. I know, she said. You told me. I almost went the day before, he said. I had planned to go Tuesday, and I moved it to Monday for no particular reason. He paused. If I'd gone Tuesday. Don't, she said. He looked at her. I know, she said. But you didn't go Tuesday, you went Monday, and I was there. She looked at the pasture. I believe in cause and effect, and the weight of evidence, and the decisions people make. And the decision you made was to stop. And the decision I made was to say no, I don't have somewhere to go." She paused. All the rest followed from those two decisions. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You know what I think about sometimes." "Tell me," she said. "The woman who would have stayed on that train," he said. "If I'd gone Tuesday. The woman who would have sat at that station all night and gotten on the eastbound Thursday and gone back to Ohio and—" He stopped. "I think about her sometimes. The version of you that didn't end up here." Anna looked at the east pasture, at the cattle, at the fence posts that were going to hold through winter, at the water that was running. "She would have been all right," Anna said. "Eventually. She would have found her way to something real." "I know," Lucas said, "but I'm glad she's here instead." Anna looked at him, the man who had stopped on a dark road, who had offered a room and a locked door and a meal and no questions, who had shown her account books with a gap in the middle where everything changed, who had stood beside her at a bank counter and a lawyer's office and a creek bed with a dam that had no business existing, who had said, "I want more than enough in a kitchen in December," and meant every word of it. She reached over and took his hand. He turned his palm up. "She's glad too," Anna said. And there on the porch of a ranch that had a creek running through it, and 2 names on the deed, and 23 head of cattle in the east pasture, and a future that had a shape they had built together from the specific improbable materials of one man's refusal to keep riding, and one woman's refusal to disappear there, in the last warmth of a Wyoming summer evening. Everything that had been taken, and everything that had been built, sat side by side, in the comfortable, certain quiet of people who have found the place they were meant to be. Anna Whitmore had arrived with nothing and built everything, and she had done it not by being saved, but by being seen, and then by showing with every account book and fence post and legal document and stubborn, clear-eyed day of real work exactly what a woman worth seeing could do.